This guy right here is our main character. While normal people would run away in terror when facing a demonic cultivator, our MC just stands there, letting it beat him to a pulp. Why? Because he possesses a ridiculously overpowered defensive system. No matter how strong the demons or monsters are, every single blow they land on him translates directly into attribute points. He gets beat down 25 hours a day, yet his defense stats keep growing exponentially. When a one-eyed demon launches a mental attack on him, the poor creature doesn't even realize who's actually the prey. His mental strength instantly spikes by an additional 1 billion. And just like that, he ends up keeping millions of demons in his house just to farm stats. Alright, no more wasting time, let's jump right into it. The first season of this story is already complete, and I've recapped it all the way to the end. Enjoy the ride. Our story begins in the Great Yan Dynasty, within the courtyard of the Demon Suppression Bureau, where a young man's silhouette can be seen walking. His name is Qingfeng, an ordinary transmigrator with nothing special going for him. Showing up for work today, he is still half asleep. Every day at the Demon Suppression Bureau, he works with extreme caution, all for his main goal, to eventually get transferred so he can move closer to his true destination. He took this job specifically to stay as far away from the Demon Suppression Prison and those wretched monsters as possible. But looking at the place in front of him now, he never would have imagined that one day he'd be begging to stay right here just to get beaten up. Qingfeng reaches out to open the door in front of him, shivering slightly at the deathly chill coming from within. The cell is pitch black, but starting today, the moment he steps inside, a woman's soft, seductive voice echoes, calling out, "Darling." Curious, Qingfeng walks over and peers into the cell. Inside the cell is, with tears streaming down her face, she whimpers and begs, "Please, can you let a poor girl like me out? But don't let her fool you. She's actually Xiao Shimei, a literal demon." The atmosphere around them instantly turns sultry. His face flushes red as he sheepishly thinks, "Wow, isn't she a total baddie? I, Qingfeng, am just an apprentice demon slayer and jailer at the Demon Suppression Bureau. If I were back in the modern world with technology everywhere, I wouldn't even be able to compete." Suddenly, the tearful act vanishes from her face, replaced by a wicked smirk. Her eyes flash with a hypnotic light, and the air grows even more seductive, leaving him frozen in place. Staring open-mouthed and unable to make a sound, he can only think in panic, "I can't speak." Is this the effect of her charm magic? He bites his lip hard, fighting to stay conscious by forcing himself to remember the gruesome corpses he had seen before. He knows everything in front of him is a complete illusion. If he opens that cell door, she will drain every single drop of his blood. So many of his colleagues at the Bureau have already died at her hands, and he is not about to join them. Stealing his resolve, Qingfeng stands before her cell and roars, "How dare you, vile demon? I can tell with just one look that you are not human. Trying to use your cheap charm magic on me is like trying to teach a fish how to swim." With that, he turns on his heel and walks away without looking back, leaving the demon stunned inside her cell. Watching him walk away, she grows irritated and growls, "You little brat, there is no way you didn't fall for my charm." She springs to her feet, her entire body glowing with a seductive, magical light once again. In the blink of an eye, she transforms into an incredibly sexy woman, wearing a tight red dress that barely covers her assets, posing provocatively. Refusing to admit defeat, she points at him and demands, "Hey, you, I command you to open this door right now." By this point, he is completely drenched in sweat. He grits his teeth, steals a glance backward, and thinks, "Damn this seductive dual cultivation trick." His face is burning hot as he desperately tries to keep his head clear after that single glance, telling himself, No, I cannot fall for this trap. Qingfeng, you need to stay calm. Just calm down and think about where you are right now. This is the Demon Suppression, prison of the Demon Suppression Bureau, and only monsters are locked up here. He walks away resolutely, determined not to let himself get distracted. Just turn around and do not look at her. Looking into that cell is dangerous. This world is way too terrifying. But behind Qingfeng, sharp cracking sounds begin to echo continuously. Crack, 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 crack. The noise pierces his ears, making him incredibly uncomfortable as it keeps snapping over and over, completely ruining his focus. Suddenly, the demon girl pulls out a pink leather whip. She challenges him playfully. "You there. Since you dare to defy my orders, I am going to punish you severely." Even though he didn't turn around, the sounds behind him were just too tempting. "Damn it, seriously?" How could they play something so exciting? He was completely torn, as two conflicting sides of his personality emerged. One side screamed, "Don't turn back, no matter what. This is a demon's charm spell. The moment you look, you're done for." The other side was absolutely thrilled. "What's going on back there? Come on, just a peek. The Demon Suppression Prison is covered in ceiling arrays anyway. As long as I don't open the cell door, there's zero danger." The two opposing thoughts kept arguing back and forth. No way. With your low cultivation level, you can't escape her power. But his other side was already drooling, desperately wanting to look back at little Shi-Mi. What's there to be scared of? There are heavily armed guards outside. Even if something goes wrong, they'll save me in time. In the end, his inner womanizer won. Shedding tears of joy, he turned around and declared, "That's nothing. Black stockings are the ultimate truth." Seeing him hooked, she called out in a seductive voice, "My darling." With glistening eyes, he turned back as a faint purple light swirled around him. Sitting in her cell, she raised her long, slender legs suggestively, whispering, "Am I beautiful?" Just this one look was enough to give him a massive nosebleed. Losing his mind with excitement, he shouts right in front of the sexy babe that absolutely nothing else matters. Clutching the key, he immediately slides it into the lock. Qingfeng, completely spellbound, unlocks the cell door and steps inside. Seeing him enter, the little demon Shi-Mi smirks wickedly, locking onto her target. Her eyes flash, baring her razor-sharp fangs with a sadistic grin as a dense, dark aura wraps around her entire body. In a flash, she lunges forward and wraps her arms tightly around him, sinking her teeth deep into Qingfeng's shoulder with practiced ease. He does not even try to dodge, but weirdly enough, no matter how hard she bites, he remains completely unharmed. Even she is completely baffled. His entire body is clearly under her control, yet his eyes are still filled with hearts, leaving her pale, helpless, and forced to back away, unable to do any actual damage. Suddenly, Qingfeng snaps out of it. Scratching his head, he begins to read the floating text on the system screen. Detected that the host gains strength when attacked by demons. System officially activated. You are being attacked by Shi-Mi. After reading this, he blurted out in confusion, "Damn it." Qingfeng scratches his head and frowns, looking around the room, annoyed. What on earth is that noise? Why does it always have to bother me? It seems he is finally waking up. Turning around, he sees the little demon Shi-Mi reaching her hand out to touch him. Her sudden move scares the living daylights out of him. His face goes completely pale, having totally forgotten that he was the one who opened her cell. Panicked, he screams at the top of his lungs, which startles her so much that she screams right back. And just like that, the two of them are trapped in the cell, screaming in terror at each other. Screaming like crazy, he bolts for his life, yelling, "Ah, a ghost!" Quickly unleashing her dark magic to pull him back, she springs into the air, hot on his heels. Her long, slender leg sweeps right past his head, narrowly missing him, before she lands perfectly right in front of him, cutting off Qingfeng's escape. Thinking she has him trapped, she lunges forward once again like a moth to a flame. The little Shi-Mi aims for his shoulder and bites down with all her might. Terrified, he thinks. Oh no, I am dead meat. The system warns him again. You are being attacked by Shi-Mi. Defense +1. Instead of losing power from the attack, he is actually gaining points. He is sent flying backward, slamming hard into the wall and shattering the bricks upon impact. Yet, as he sits flat on the ground, he realizes he does not have a single scratch. Meanwhile, she stomps over aggressively, blocking his path. Realizing he is completely unharmed, he lets out a sigh of relief and smiles. It is not an illusion. The system is real. This discovery instantly boosts his confidence. Clenching his fists, he stands up and asks, "System, are you there?" The system immediately responds, "Currently, only you can see me." His eyes sparkle with excitement as he asks, "What can you do?" Just then, the demon Shi-Mi leaps high into the air for another strike, but he just stands there calmly, reading the system screen. To sum it up, whenever she attacks him, he gets stronger. The harder she hits, the more powerful he becomes. Could this get any better? Qingfeng puts his hands on his hips, his face beaming as he throws his head back and laughs. With this, cannot I just rule this demon-suppressing prison? Right at that moment, her magic-infused claw slashes directly toward him, giving him a quick scare. Gasping in shock, he reflexively throws a punch straight at her face. After landing the hit, he scowls at her and says, "You almost scared me half to death, you brat." Looking down at Shi-Mi, who is sitting on the ground in utter shock, he snaps, "Get the hell back inside." And give me back my little lowly. Dumbfounded, her jaw drops as she stares at him in disbelief. Her face immediately turns red with fury, her body radiating a murderous aura as she seethes. A lowly human dares to disrespect me. Fearless, she charges at him again, stretching her hands out to wrap tightly around his neck. Her immense strength knocks him backward. Like a maniac, she goes completely wild, squeezing his throat as hard as she can. The system notifies him. Defense +2. Lying on the ground without feeling a shred of pain, his entire body actually begins to glow. Wishing she would hit him even harder, he starts teasing her on purpose. My, what a feisty little she-may. It seems making you mad is the perfect way to boost my defense. Not bad at all. Even the system chimes in with, what is wrong? Have you not eaten today? Put some back into it. Oh, right. I guess I am technically your food, and you really have not eaten yet. My bad. I misjudged you. Right in front of the furious Shimei, he calmly sits cross-legged, resting his chin on his hand with a smug, mocking look. Completely losing her mind, Shimei's hair grows wild, her eyes turning blood red as she bares her sharp fangs and roars ferociously. In a blink, she lunges at Qingfeng, raining down a barrage of punches on him. Yet, he does not flinch, remaining sitting there totally unbothered. As his defense points steadily climb on the system screen, he closes his eyes. A blue energy wraps around him as sweat starts to pour down his face. Ignoring her relentless strikes, he casually mutters, yes, yes, yes. Just like that, hit me a little harder. 80. My back has been quite stiff from sitting around for the past 2 days anyway, so put some muscle into it. He even lies flat on his stomach while Shimei frantically runs circles around him, beating him senseless. Sighing with fake exhaustion, he complains, Hey, what is the matter with you? Slacking off already? Use every bit of strength you have, or else I might have to hit you back. As the defense points start to slow down, he yawns, completely bored out of his mind. Suddenly noticing his dissatisfaction points, he snaps, Damn it! Why am I getting less and less with each upgrade? What's wrong with this system? Immediately, the system pops up with an explanation to help him understand. As the host's defense increases, the damage dealt by the corpse demon to you decreases, and the rewards will decrease accordingly. After reading this, he frowns and asks, Damn it! Doesn't that mean I can't just rely on one demon to beat me into becoming invincible? I have to find stronger demons? A simple correct from the system immediately pops up. Seeing that, he gets annoyed and slaps her hard across the face, snapping, You useless thing! Talk about a guy getting abusive right after using someone. On top of that, he is ridiculously shameless, lying on the ground with his hands behind his head and ordering, Quick, massage your granddaddy's legs. The corpse demon is not about to just take this. She repeatedly punches him, screaming, You filthy human! How dare you hit me? I'll kill you. The more she punches him, the more he loves it, and the system chimes in, Congratulations, host. Your defense has reached its limit. You have acquired the bronze skin and iron bones talent. She beats him until she is completely exhausted, but he still looks completely unfazed. Seeing that his body has leveled up significantly and her attacks aren't giving him any more points, Qingfeng looks at his hands and sighs. Man, you really are useless. He sits up and reaches out to lift her chin. Her face has gone back to looking delicate and submissive. Then he presses firmly against her lips, causing her to blush in embarrassment. She stares at him in confusion, completely clueless about what he's planning. Out of nowhere, he gets angry, squeezes her face hard, and snaps. Why haven't you transformed back yet? Did my words go in one ear and out the other? With that, he shoves her away forcefully and stretches, getting ready. If you're going to be this disobedient. On the outside, he looks absolutely furious, but deep down, he's smirking and thinking, this is the perfect chance to test out my bronze skin and iron bones. Before she knows it, he lunges forward, beating and stomping on her ruthlessly. Screaming in pain, she clutches her head and begs for mercy. I'll change right now. I won't waste another second. The corpse demon kneels on the floor, wiping away her tears, and crying as she transforms. He stands there, staring intently at her shifting body, his eyes lighting up, and says, with a deadpan expression, Since you can't help me boost my defense anymore, you might as well dance for me. Give me a sexy dance. And just like that, he drags her back into her private cell. Inside the locked cell, the corpse demon sways and dances right in front of him. She has a gorgeous body with seductive curves, and a face that could steal anyone's soul. Gu Qingfeng even steps in to give some personal tutoring. With one hand wrapped tightly around her waist and his other hand holding hers above her head, the pose is pretty questionable. After a few dances, the corpse demon is so exhausted that she collapses to the floor, gasping for air. Finally, he decides to leave her cell. Before stepping out, he waves and reminds her, "Make sure to remember those poses I taught you." He locks the door tight, looks at her lying there weakly inside, and adds a slightly threatening remark, "You better practice those. I'll be back to check on you next time." With that, he walks away. As the only guard in this massive prison, Gu Qingfeng heads over to a library packed with shelves of books. He stands with his arms crossed, tilting his head up to scan the bookshelves as if searching for something. Finally, he reaches out and grabs a volume. The book reads, "The Demon Suppression Prison is divided into 3 levels. Level 1 is for detaining low-level demons and evil spirits. Level 2 is for mid-tier targets, requiring a yellow-class demon slayer rank or higher to enter. Level 3 is for high-tier targets, which only those at mystic class or above can access. Entering these levels also requires presenting a command token." After reading this, his next move instantly takes shape in his mind. "What I need to do now is quickly become a yellow-class demon slayer. Right now, I'm basically just an intern." Closing the book, he makes up his mind. "Guess I should finish exploring level 1 first." No sooner said than done, he heads straight back to the cells, his face deadly serious as he storms down the corridor. Just then, a voice calls out from the entrance, "Gu Qingfeng, shift change." He looks over in surprise, thinking, "Already? Well, no matter what you're doing, who doesn't want to go home when their shift ends?" He happily runs toward the door, yelling, "All right, let's go." Back in the locker room, Gu Qingfeng changes his clothes while calling out, "System, are you there?" Slipping on his casual tank top, he asks, "Let me ask you, besides getting attacked by demons, does training on my own actually do anything?" But the system remains silent for a while, leaving him waiting anxiously. Shrugging it off, Gu Qingfeng walks out, muttering to himself, "If you want something done right, do it yourself." He walks straight to a large library where a librarian is already sitting inside. He heads deep into the rows of bookshelves and starts searching. Suddenly, something catches his eye. "Huh?" Looking at a few books, he says excitedly, "Yes, this is it," and pulls it off the shelf. Holding the book and rubbing his chin thoughtfully, he says, "The bronze skin and iron bones talent and the iron shirt technique both strengthen the physical form. They should be a perfect match." Having found the right book, he eagerly grabs it and runs over to the librarian. The librarian frowns and warns him, "No running, keep it down." He doesn't even reply. Once he checks it out, he bolts straight for the door. His rushed behavior leaves the librarian looking utterly confused. Grinning from ear to ear, he sprints all the way back home, bursting with excitement. The moment he gets back, he opens the book to study it, sitting cross-legged on a chair and reading with intense focus. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open. His entire body felt like it was flipping upside down, drifting into a mystical space. Weightless, he floated in midair before being sucked into an incense burner on the table. Today was a clear, sunny day, but the peaceful atmosphere was shattered by his ecstatic scream, "I actually pulled it off!" Looking down at himself in disbelief, he marveled at his own mind-blowing speed. "It takes others more than 10 years, but it only took me 1 day. I am a total genius." With his training complete, he confidently stepped outside. His muscles were now bulging, and his entire body brimmed with raw, powerful energy. The iron shirt technique was a success. Perfect. This would easily hide his innate invulnerable physique. It was finally time for work, so he threw on his uniform and headed to the prison. Yawning deeply and stretching his arms, he walked in and said, "Zhang, I'm here to take over your shift." Seeing him arrive, the guy's jaw dropped in shock. "Gu Qingfeng, why are you so proactive today? You're actually early?" He scratched his head in embarrassment as the other guy teased, "Well, at least you aren't 30 minutes late this time." At times like this, a bright smile was the best defense. He replied, "Hey, I've had a change of heart, all right? I decided to actually put some effort into my job. To make up for all those times you covered my shifts, from now on, I'll show up 1 hour early every single day. How does that sound?" Zhang, hit with one surprise after another, looked at him suspiciously and asked, "Are you serious?" Internally, he thought, "Did this kid take the wrong medicine today?" Gu Qingfeng smiled and replied, "Of course I am." Although suspicious, Zhang wasn't about to pass up the offer. His face lit up, and he waved goodbye as he rushed out. Now that is what I call a brother. I owe you a drink. I'm heading out first then. Gu Qingfeng waved back. All right, see you later. Once the guy was out of sight, Gu Qingfeng immediately turned his attention back to the cells. He walked inside with an excited grin. I wonder what kind of fun things are waiting for me in here. His eyes sparkled with anticipation. Whose cell tag is getting pulled today? The keys dangling from his waist made him feel incredibly powerful. He stopped in front of a cell door covered in talismans, studying it with surprise. This door wasn't just covered in paper talismans, it even had ceiling incantations carved into it. He reached out and slid open the small shutter on the door. Right there, staring back at him from the darkness, was a massive, blood-red eye. The next thing he knew, Gu Qingfeng found himself lying on a lush green meadow, surrounded by blooming red flowers. He propped himself up and slowly sat up, looking around in confusion, his brow furrowed with deep suspicion as he struggled to keep his head clear. This illusion was incredibly beautiful. Right in front of him, a young couple was chatting. He looked around the area, asking in confusion, "Where am I?" Suddenly, the girl ran over to the boy. Meanwhile, Gu Qingfeng stood up and looked up at the sun, marveling at how peaceful and warm it felt. But then, he raised a hand to point upward, thinking in utter shock. Wait, the sun? That glowing red sun was now transforming into a giant, blinking eye staring down at him. It looked absolutely bizarre. The giant eye opened even wider, plummeting straight down toward him. He stood frozen like a statue, staring up at it in sheer astonishment. The beautiful scenery suddenly plunged into darkness. The flowers on the ground turned into pale, fleshless, human skulls, leaving a desolate and barren wasteland. He stood there completely alone, surrounded by a sea of skulls. The giant eye shrank back down, leaving only a distorted pupil. A colossal figure stepped forward. It had no head. Instead, its head was that very same pale eyeball. The headless giant stomped toward him, raising its massive foot to crush him. He was kicked and sent flying backward. The eye glared down at him, making a guttural, bubbling sound, before suddenly going berserk and launching a relentless barrage of attacks. He stood his ground, predicting its movements. But right then, his system interface flashed with a notification. You have been attacked by the Eye Demon. Soul power +10. At that exact moment, he snapped out of it, and the surrounding illusion dissolved back into the prison cell. Looking at the door in front of him, he realized, an illusion. An eerie voice echoed from behind the door. You, my servant, hear my command, open the door and break free. Hearing this garbage, Gu Qingfeng's jaw dropped in sheer disbelief. He unlocked the cell, ripped the paper talismans off the door, and walked right inside. The voice kept chanting inside, "Servant, open the door." Inside was nothing but a single, tiny, round eyeball. Yet, it had the nerve to act tough and threaten him. Oh, this is great. You lowly servants of the Demon Subduing Division, once I get out of here, I'll show you the true meaning of my wrath. Without saying a word, he grabbed the door and locked it shut from the inside. The Eye Demon, realizing he was locking them in together, flew up in a rage and screamed, "Hey, I'm not even out yet." Gu Qingfeng was literally shaking from trying to hold himself back. Seeing no reaction from him, the eyeball floated lower, tilting its head to study him. To make matters worse, it arrogantly ordered, "Servant, open the door." He just stared back at it with wide, vacant eyes, looking completely soulless. Sensing no threat, the Eye Demon drifted right up to his face, widening its pupil and staring intently into his eyes. The moment it let its guard down, he snatched the eyeball out of the air. Turns out, he was just acting the whole time. Gu Qingfeng let out a smug grin and immediately started beating the living daylights out of it. He shoved two of his fingers straight into the eyeball, making it shriek in agonizing pain. Arg! 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 Blood dripped onto the floor, pooling on the ground as the Eye Demon screamed through its tears. It hurts! It hurts so bad! How could a lowly human like you break my ocular technique? Gu Qingfeng looked up at it and said nonchalantly, "Look at you. You're bleeding. Let me give you some medical treatment." A sinister, creepy grin spread across his face as he stared it down. Seeing his blatant contempt, the Eye Demon glared back in pure rage and screamed, "You bastard! This is unforgivable!" But it couldn't do a thing to him. It scurried straight up to the ceiling, turned around, and roared, "I only let my guard down earlier. Now, I am going to show you what real cruelty looks like." With that, it whipped around, its massive eye glowing as it shot a pink light straight at him. The monster was up to its old tricks again. Gu Qingfeng covered his eyes and yelled, "Huh? What did you say?" This only made the demon feel more powerless and furious. Right then, the space around him began to shift. He looked down at his hands and saw that the light had already turned blue. Standing before him was that multi-eyed giant from before, sitting tall and muscular on a throne. Qingfeng broke into a cold sweat, letting out a soft chuckle. The eye demon leaned down to glare at him, threatening, "I will unleash absolute torment upon you. I will make you regret ever being born into this world." His entire body felt like it was being crushed by some invisible force. He thought to himself, "I know this is an illusion, but the pressure is incredibly real." The demon roared once more. "Lowly human, kneel." It cranked up the pressure, but he stood there solid as a rock, completely unmoved, challenging the beast. But after a brief moment, his body involuntarily buckled. He thought in panic and frustration, "This does not count as an attack. Shoot, my body is not listening to me anymore." In the void, hundreds of more eyes appeared, staring right at him. Shouts kept echoing over and over, "Kneel." He glared back at them with furious eyes, his body drenched in sweat. Qingfeng frantically called out to his system, "Hurry up and wake me the hell up." Only now did the system pop up, stating, "You have been attacked by the eye demon, soul power +1. The numbers kept rising because the more the eye demon attacked, the more Qingfeng benefited. Finally, his soul power broke past the limit. "Congratulations, host. You have obtained an ocular technique." One of his eyes glowed with light. He was shocked by how amazing this new power felt. Clutching his face with both hands, he threw his head back and cried out in sheer delight. "Oh man, I am so happy I could cry." Acquiring this illusion technique felt like putting refreshing eye drops into his eyes, which was incredibly satisfying. Now, the eye demon was absolutely nothing to him. He reached his hand out toward the beast, ready to execute this foolish monster. In the blink of an eye, he was the one sitting on its throne. Now, everything was in the palm of his hand, and the demon had completely lost control. His eyes flared with a fierce glare. "Perfect. You are the ideal test subject." The eye demon was now weak and shriveled, frozen solid in utter shock on the ground. This time, it was dead meat. His power surged violently, making him look like a demon king sitting on his throne, ready to execute a criminal. The eye demon immediately began shaking like a leaf, so terrified it was about to wet itself. Sitting with his legs crossed, he rested his chin on his hand and coldly ordered, "Get over here." Being threatened within its own spell, the demon was furious. It shook its head, squeezed its eyes shut, and protested in frustration. "This is my ocular technique." Drenched in sweat, it trembled in fear, right in his grasp. Stammering, "How did you break it?" "No, you stole my ocular technique." He raised his hand and flicked his fingers, snapping the surrounding space back to reality right in front of the cell door. He wound up to hurl it back into the cell as it kept begging, "Spare me, please, spare me." Qingfeng did not say a single word, throwing it straight back inside. It bounced around the room like a pinball. Finally, he cupped his hands together, waiting for it to bounce back toward him. Just as expected, the eye demon crashed into his hands like a balloon and burst into pieces, blood spraying everywhere. Looking at the battered monster on the ground, he smirked and closed the cell door, mocking it. "Since you gave me a new skill, I will let you live. Keep training, and I will see you next time." With that, he slammed the door shut ruthlessly, leaving the eye demon crying out in terror. Next time? Coming back next time? Getting beat up once was not enough. In another room, Qingfeng sat examining a book in his hand, saying, "So this is the ocular illusion technique, illusion sight. It has two functions, controlling others and creating illusion realms. The caster can control the movements of a mid-tier expert and make them fall into the illusion realm created by the caster. The more he read, the more he learned. The weakness of illusion sight was that the caster had to make direct eye contact with someone whose soul power was lower than theirs. Otherwise, the effect would drop significantly or even fail completely. Furthermore, the strength of the illusion depended entirely on the caster's own power. After reading this, he closed the book and thought happily, "Awesome. This is a growth-type skill. With my current soul power, using illusion sight against a martial artist at the Qi gathering realm should be a piece of cake. But against martial artists at the inner Qi realm, martial arts is divided into 5 major realms: the Qi gathering realm, the inner Qi realm, the true Qi realm, the astral Qi realm, and the innate realm. These 5 grand realms correspond to the 5 ranks of demon suppressors at the Demon Suppression Division: apprentice, Xuan grade, Tian grade, Huang grade, and D grade. Each major realm is further divided into 9 minor stages, from the 1st to the 9th heavenly layer, which is the highest. Only by reaching the 9th level of a realm can you break through and advance to the next level. He clenched his fist until it trembled, his heart filled with determination. My chances of winning right now are not very high. Qingfeng bit his lip, determined. After all, right now, I am only a lowly cultivator at the 3rd level of the Qi gathering realm. As he walked, he muttered to himself, but in just 2 short days, this system has already put me on the path to becoming absolutely invincible. What if I had a few more days? Maybe I could completely clear out all 3 floors of the demon suppressing prison. Just as he was deep in thought, a voice suddenly called out, "Hey, young man, come over here." Startled, he glanced over in that direction. The voice came from a door heavily wrapped in chains and plastered with talismans. Looking at the door, he blurted out, "Oh, wow. Taking the initiative. Are we?" Qingfeng didn't hesitate to slide open the peephole on the door, but looking inside, he only saw an old man. Seeing him, the old man spoke up. "Young man, are you here to get talisman materials too?" Hearing this, Qingfeng frowned, completely confused. He wasn't even planning to do anything. It was this old guy who called out to him first. "So," he cautiously asked, "talisman materials?" The old man pulled open his shirt and said, "It seems the recent battles for your demon suppressing division have been quite intense." With that, he reached his hand deep into his chest, adding, "I remember the last time you guys came for materials was just half a month ago. I didn't expect you to burn through them so quickly." The old man's face contorted in pain as his hand remained dug into his chest. It was impossible to tell what he was actually doing, but it looked incredibly bizarre. Qingfeng immediately grew alert, stepping back from the door as he yelled, "You damn creep, what the hell are you doing?" To his surprise, the old man literally tore a piece of skin right off his own body, but once it was out, it turned into a piece of brown tree bark. The old man held it out to him. Offering the tree bark, he said in a gentle voice, "Here, young man. This is for you." Facing this weird situation for the first time, Qingfeng frowned, utterly speechless. "What? So the materials are harvested straight from your body? Well, that is pretty neat." He then reached his hand right through the bars to take it. Watching Qingfeng wave his hand right in front of him, the old man was stunned, thinking, he's reaching his bare hand straight into a demon's cell? Seeing him hesitate, Qingfeng urged, "Didn't you say this was a gift for our first meeting? Why aren't you handing it over?" Losing his patience, he banged on the door and snapped, "Hey, are you going to give it to me or what?" The old man let out a sly smirk. Without saying a word, he deviously placed the bark onto his hand, clearly cooking up some wicked plot. Once he handed it over, the old man chuckled to himself, "Such a robust body. Seriously, this old guy was a total creep." Having grabbed the piece of bark, Qingfeng held it up to inspect it, thinking to himself, "Isn't this just a piece of tree bark? Damn it, that old guy actually called this a talisman." He even brought it up to his nose to take a sniff. He immediately recognized the scent of the talismans on the cell doors. It was exactly the same as the smell of this tree bark. Gripping the bark tightly, he finally realized how significant this was. So that's how it is. No wonder they went through the trouble of building this demon-suppressing prison. This old guy had to be a tree demon, whose bark could be harvested to manufacture talismans. Connecting all the dots, a devious grin spread across his face as he realized, so, the demon-suppressing division must come to him for bark every few days. Those guys are clever. This is basically a renewable goldmine of resources. Can't let anyone see this good stuff. He quickly looked around to make sure the coast was clear, then hastily tucked the bark into his shirt. If tree bark could be used to make talismans, he could save a decent amount of money. At the very least, Qingfeng still had a bit of a conscience and a sense of fairness. Resting his hands on the bars and looking into the cell, he found himself in a bit of a dilemma. Using the old guy to practice his cultivation right now felt a bit wrong. Taking his bark and then beating him up for training seemed a little too greedy, so he was still weighing his options. He decided to let him off the hook for now and look for someone else. But just as he was about to walk away, the old man called out desperately, "Young man!" Startled, Qingfeng turned around. The old man stood there, looking out the door, trying to strike up a conversation. "Are you in a hurry to get back? If not, could you spare a moment to talk with this old man?" His deep, melancholic voice echoed, "I have been locked up in this demon-suppressing division for 10 years. For 10 long years, not a single soul has spoken to me." The old man put on a pitiful act, leaning on a cane and trembling as he said, "My time is almost up. Before I die, I just want to find someone to talk to and ease my loneliness." Before the old man could even finish, there was a sudden whoosh at the cell door. Gu Qingfeng was already back, peeking inside and looking coldly at him as he replied, "Fine, what do you want to talk about?" Gu Qingfeng even went ahead and swung the door wide open. The old man huddled inside, crossing his arms and bowing his head, putting on a dramatic act as he said, "How about this old man tells you a story?" Surprisingly, Gu Qingfeng was totally down for it. "Awesome. I absolutely love listening to stories." The old man began his tale. 100 years ago, in Ji County, there was a small village called Xianxia Village. The people there were simple, honest, and completely cut off from the rest of the world. There was a little boy named Zhang Heng, who accidentally planted a small locust tree. As the old man told the story, he was secretly scheming. "Just wait until I slowly trick you into opening the door." But to his absolute shock, before he could even start baiting him, Gu Qingfeng had already opened the door and walked straight inside. This sudden move completely threw the old man off. Stunned, he stopped his story and stared in utter confusion before crying out in panic, You! Why did you come in here? I'm a demon. Aren't you afraid I'll eat you alive?" Gu Qingfeng went as far as sitting on one of the old man's hanging vines like he was playing on a swing. Sitting right next to him, he casually replied, "I can tell you're actually a good demon. Besides, listening to a story through a door just ruins the vibe." Hearing this, the old man broke into a cold sweat, completely speechless. "Why is this idiot not sticking to the script? I haven't even finished my story yet." Seeing him fall silent, Gu Qingfeng excitedly urged, "Keep going, I'm listening." What happened to the little locust tree? He kept happily swinging back and forth on the vine, showing absolutely zero caution around the old demon. Watching him play around right in front of him, the old man thought helplessly, "What do I do now? Do I keep telling the story, or do I strike?" I did not see this move coming at all. Who would have thought the old man would stand right back up and continue his story in a flat, monotone voice, explaining that once the little locust tree grew up, it turned into a demon and devoured everyone in Xianxia village. While his branches were silently creeping outward, our guy was still casually swinging on his chains, even asking, "Is that it?" The old man's creeping root vines spread across the entire room, locking onto him. With murder in his eyes, the old man growled, "That's it!" He was losing his patience. His prey was right there, so why waste time storytelling? Might as well dig in while it was hot. With a loud thud, a massive branch crashed straight down. In the blink of an eye, he transformed into a terrifying tree monster. But the moment he let out a roar, he caught a brutal slap right to the face. The vibe was instantly ruined, and he froze up, completely stunned. Before he could even snap out of it, Gu Qingfeng threw a savage punch right at the old man's face. Landing the punch with a loud smack, he yelled, "Get lost!" Standing there with his hands on his hips, he pointed right at the old man's face and snapped, "Can you at least put some effort into it? Can you finish the damn story before you attack?" Furious from the beatdown, the old man got up and glared at him with bulging eyes. Gu Qingfeng mocked him, "How are you any different from those other bastards?" Hearing that, the demon leaped backward, but he still had the nerve to act smug, pounding his chest and shouting, "You are on the brink of death, yet you dare strike me?" He extended his massive wooden tentacles, sending them charging straight at Gu Qingfeng as he roared, "Become my nutrients!" Surprised, our guy leaned back to dodge the grasping branches, but they eventually wrapped around him tightly, leaving him dangling in the middle of the room. The system chimed in, "You have been attacked by a 100-year-old Locust Tree Demon, strength +5. The old demon smirked triumphantly, strutting over to where Gu Qingfeng was hanging. He even had the audacity to poke a finger into Gu Qingfeng's chest, pressing down hard, but our guy didn't feel a single ounce of pain. In fact, he laughed mockingly and teased, "Put some back into it, boy. My skin is thicker than you think." Seeing this, the old man's temper flared. He hoisted Gu Qingfeng higher, turned his back, and snarled, "Keep talking smack." With a snap of his fingers, the vines instantly wrapped around Gu Qingfeng like a mummy. The vines began to glow with an eerie green light, slowly draining away his vital energy. Right on cue, the system flooded him with point notifications. The harder this old geezer hit, the higher Gu Qingfeng's points climbed, and the stronger he became. Suddenly, the wooden cocoon holding him began to crack, and Gu Qingfeng effortlessly ripped through the old man's wooden shell to break free. He dropped onto the ground right in front of the old geezer, letting out a highly satisfied smirk. He had racked up so many points by now. Seeing him march forward, the terrified demon backed up, stammering, "You, stay away from me." But there was no way Gu Qingfeng was letting him off the hook. He cracked his knuckles with a sinister grin. Go ahead and scream. No one is coming to save you, even if you scream your lungs out. Cracking his knuckles with a loud pop, Qingfeng charged forward and roared, Taste fear, you old geezer. The old man trembled like a leaf, completely paralyzed with fear and unable to move an inch. Loud, brutal beating sounds echoed throughout the room. With his face battered and bloody, the old man obediently and submissively massaged Qingfeng's back, muttering, Actually, I am that very locust tree. I became a demon because of a spiritual artifact, and then you demon slayers locked me up in here. The old man even had to sprout branches to give him a full-body massage. After getting thoroughly thrashed, he learned his lesson real quick, and even started massaging Qingfeng's legs. Qingfeng replied, So you're saying a spiritual artifact turned you from a regular old locust tree into a demon? He nodded meekly. Yes, master. Back then, a wood attribute spiritual artifact was buried right beneath where I was planted. This humble demon was nurtured by its power day and night until I could finally take human form. Lying comfortably on the table while enjoying the head-to-toe massage, Qingfeng asked, What kind of incredible artifact was that anyway? It must be at least mystic grade, right? The old man, with his bloody face and a massive bump on his head, replied, Master, you have such keen eyes. Spiritual artifacts are powerful weapons possessing a spiritual consciousness, divided into 4 grades: heaven, earth, mystic, and yellow, which correspond to the 4 ranks of demon slayers. Recalling the sword from back then, he continued, That spiritual artifact was known as the Wood King Sword. 100 years ago, it was a high-grade, earth-tier spiritual artifact. As he massaged Qingfeng's feet, he added, However, it seems the weapon suffered some damage over the last 100 years. Its spiritual energy kept leaking out, and by now, its grade has dropped to low-tier mystic. Hearing this, Qingfeng sat up and asked, I highly doubt it was just damaged. Over the past 100 years, to take on human form, you probably siphoned off a massive chunk of its spiritual energy, didn't you? Unable to deny it, the old man could only confess, Master truly has a keen eye. Feeling satisfied, Qingfeng pulled on his boots and said, All right, cut the flattery. But there was no way he was going to pass up such a treasure, so he demanded, Where is this Wood King's sword hidden? The old man answered, Back when the demon slayers came for me, I knew I couldn't beat them. So I hid the Wood King's sword in an extremely secure, secret spot. Only I know this place. But before he could even finish his sentence, Qingfeng impatiently lunged forward, grabbing him by the collar with one hand, while shoving the old man's head down with the other as he barked, I absolutely despise people who beat around the bush. Get straight to the point. Seriously, just answer the question instead of trying to buy time. Scared out of his wits, the old man blurted out, Yes, right away, master. The Wood King's sword is buried beneath the mountain god temple, behind the mountain in Xianxia village, right next to the county. Having secured the location, Qingfeng put his clothes back on, getting ready to leave. Once dressed, he walked out of the cell, making sure to add, I have to head somewhere else now. I'll come find you again tomorrow. Watching him slam the door shut and leave, the old man could only call out, Yes. Have a safe trip, master. Looking forward to your next visit. Qingfeng then made his exit. Leaving the cell, he grumbled to himself, Damn it. That tree demon talked so much he wasted all my time. It's almost dawn already. If I head to the next cell now, I won't have enough time. My shift will probably end before I'm even halfway through. Suddenly, a thought struck him, and he stopped in his tracks. Glancing toward another cell, he pondered, I haven't seen little Shimei in a whole day. I wonder how far she's gotten with those poses I taught her. Wasting no time, he marched over to her cell and unlocked the door. As soon as the door swung open, he saw her sitting inside, practicing her cultivation. Grinning from ear to ear, he waved and called out, Shimei. She looked up, slightly surprised to see him. With an eager grin, he commanded, Hey, change into a mature, dominant look, then put on that gorgeous courtesan outfit. You girls look best in a red dress, got it? Hearing this, her face turned bright red. She bowed her head, having no choice but to obey. Yes, master. With a quiet poof of smoke, Shimei transformed into the exact look he wanted. Striking a seductive pose, she looked at him and asked, Are you satisfied now, handsome? Staring at her stunning, curvy body, Qingfeng clapped and showered her with praise. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. But he stopped right there, leaving her standing in complete confusion. He turned around to head out, tossing a casual remark over his shoulder. I'll be right back. In a modern high school setting, A delicate hand holds out a love letter sealed with a pink heart. A sweet, gentle voice pleads, "Senior Gu Qingfeng, please accept this." Standing under a blooming cherry blossom tree is Shi Mei, dressed in a cute school uniform. Blushing furiously, she confesses, I love you more than anyone, senior." The surrounding schoolgirls watch in what? She actually went after my favorite senior, Qingfeng. At this moment, he seriously said to Shi Mi, "Sorry, but my heart is already full. I only have room for my great country." As soon as he finished, the girls admired him even more. Why is Senior Qingfeng so charming? Senior Qingfeng is just too handsome. While they were swooning, a sudden snap of a finger echoed. The two were swept into an endless spatial vortex. The eye demon appeared, cutting the scene instantly. A loud shout ran out, "Report!" A messenger ran frantically into the palace, where he was happily chatting with several maidservants. In this setting, Gu Qingfeng was the king, surrounded entirely by beautiful women. The shout echoed, "The female leaders of the 7 nations have surrounded us." The servant knelt on the ground to report, saying they demanded to marry the lord. Several beautiful girls ran in from the outside, making him even more panicked. "This is bad. They've breached the palace." The girls ran straight toward him, each pleading desperately, "You must marry me today, my love." Wearing his crown on the throne, Gu Qingfeng laughed joyfully. "Why does the world always crave my beautiful looks? Sigh. Stop fighting. Let's just all live together." Right at that moment, the images of the girls began to blur, and the sound faded out. My lord, my lord." He suddenly woke up from the illusion and returned to his cell. Shirtless on his bed, he lay back, enjoying a foot massage from Shimi. Irritated, he looked over at Yan Gui and demanded, "Hey, big eyes. I was having a great time. Why did you suddenly deactivate the illusion?" Terrified, the big-eyed demon quickly stammered, "Boss, it's already time for the shift change." Hearing this, he didn't say another word. Letting out a satisfying yawn, he got out of bed, said, "Fine," and patted Shimi's head in satisfaction before stepping out of the cell, making sure to lock the door behind him. As he walked toward the exit, he sighed with regret. Time flies when you're having fun. Just then, he ran into Zhang Zheng, who was arriving for his shift. Seeing him, Zhang Zheng grinned and said, "The mountain roads around here sure are winding." He just stared back without saying a word. But seeing how cheerful the guy was, he waved his hand and teased, "Well, look at you. Why so happy today? Did you step in dog poop on your way out or something?" Suddenly, Zhang Zheng grabbed his arm and whispered loudly, "Something huge just happened at the Demon Suppression Division." He then looked around cautiously to make sure the coast was clear. Seeing that no one was around, he leaned in with a secretive look and whispered, "I just heard that a few days ago, Lord Yang, a Xuan-rank demon slayer, led his squad into the dry bone forest to hunt demons, and his entire team got completely wiped out." Hearing this, he gasped in shock. "What?" Seeing how hyped the guy was, he asked curiously, "If their entire squad got wiped out, why are you so thrilled? Was your worst enemy in that group?" Seeing his confusion, Zhang Zheng put on a mysterious look and said, "Think about it. The official roster for our Wutong County Demon Suppression Division is always completely full. This guy sure knew how to play his cards. While others suffered a tragedy, he was already calculating how he could benefit from it. This time, 4 Huang-rank demon slayers and 1 Xuan-rank demon slayer died, leaving a bunch of empty spots all of a sudden." Hearing this, he was slightly stunned. Gu Qingfeng really hadn't thought about that. He scratched his head and replied, "Even if there's a vacancy for a Huang-rank demon slayer, what does that have to do with you? Aren't you only at the 4th layer of the Qi condensation realm? It's not like your turn is coming anytime soon." He didn't deny it and replied, I know. That's why this time, they promoted 4 intern demon slayers in the inner Qi realm to Huang-rank demon slayers." Spilling everything he knew, Zhang Zheng continued, "And they promoted another Huang-rank demon slayer to fill Lord Yang's spot." Gesturing with his pinky, he smirked, "So, there's still 1 Huang-rank demon slayer position left open. But since all the intern demon slayers in the inner Qi realm have already been promoted, what are they going to do about that last empty spot?" While he was still puzzled, Zhang Zheng chuckled and finally declared, "By holding a martial arts tournament, of course, just like tradition." His words really opened Gu Qingfeng's eyes. Using a tournament to find someone competent to fill the vacancy and then pushing them to cultivate. He listened with his mouth wide open in surprise, thinking, "A tournament?" Zhang Zheng continued, "The tournament is scheduled for 3 days from now. I just walked past and saw tons of people signing up. It is incredibly lively. Gu Qingfeng seemed pretty interested. He smiled faintly and asked, "Is this tournament only open to trainee demon slayers at the 9th stage of the Qi condensation realm?" Zhang Zheng stroked his chin, thought for a moment, and replied, "Actually, there are no restrictions. Quite a few at the 8th stage of the Qi condensation realm are signing up too." Hearing this, his blood started pumping with excitement, but he kept his cool on the outside, secretly calculating, "This is perfect. 3 days left. If I can get promoted to a yellow rank demon slayer this time, I will have the right to freely enter and exit the 2nd floor of the Demon Suppression Prison. By then, I will be in contact with far more demons, which I can use with the system." His eyes lit up, and he smiled with excitement. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Suddenly, Zhang Zheng walked past him, resting his hands behind his head as he advised, "But let me tell you, those guys are just daydreaming. Fighting above your level is never that easy. In the end, the winner will definitely be someone at the 9th stage of the Qi condensation realm. Instead of wasting time, you are better off just keeping your head down and doing your job. You should go home and get some rest early, too." But Gu Qingfeng still had a question. He quickly grabbed Zhang Zheng by his collar, pulling him back. "Wait, where are they signing up?" Zhang Zheng turned around with a puzzled look and replied, "Oh, at the Integrity Hall." Gu Qingfeng smiled happily. "Thanks." Zhang Zheng looked at him in surprise, trying to read him. "Huh? Why are you asking about that?" Gu Qingfeng did not answer. He simply turned around and waved goodbye. "Thanks for the heads up. I am heading out first. Bye." Zhang Zheng waved back blankly. Yeah, bye." Gu Qingfeng looked down at his hands, secretly calculating, "The system only works against demons. Martial artists, on the other hand, can actually kill me. Plus, making a big scene by joining this tournament goes completely against my low-profile nature." But as he looked at the system, hope welled up inside him. Clenching his fist tightly, just one of these skills is more than enough to crush any opponent at the 9th stage of the Qi condensation realm, and I have 4 of them. Bursting with determination, he walked out the door. The physical strength of the 9th stage is 4,500 pounds, but I have over 10,000 pounds of force. There is no way I can lose. No pain, no gain. Seeing Gu Qingfeng like this, Zhang Zheng was completely taken aback. Breaking into a cold sweat, he chased after Gu Qingfeng and asked in a panic, "Hey, you are not actually thinking of joining the tournament, are you?" Gu Qingfeng's face turned serious, and he replied with just 2 words, "Of course." Zhang Zheng scoffed in disbelief. "Brother Gu, you are my idol, but you have got to be kidding me. Do you even know that those guys at the 7th stage of—" Before he could finish, Gu Qingfeng coldly cut him off. "As long as I win, everyone will shut their mouths." Seeing how dead serious Gu Qingfeng was, Zhang Zheng did not dare to say another word. He just stood there, jaw dropped, thinking, since when did this guy get so badass? Has he lost his mind? Watching Gu Qingfeng confidently walk out the door, Zhang Zheng yelled after him, "Hey, have you been possessed by a demon or something?" Zhang Zheng even chased him all the way out to the main gate, shouting, "Hey, wait up!" But Gu Qingfeng was moving too fast. Zhang Zheng stood there, breaking a sweat, and muttered helplessly, "Since when did this guy get so incredibly fast?" Giving up on the chase, he reached into his robe to look for something. He pulled out a notebook and flipped through it intently. "Fine, I cannot stop you. Let me check my handbook to see how I can talk some sense into you." Meanwhile, at the Integrity Hall registration area, a white-haired old man sat behind a desk, surrounded by several guards. He slowly asked, "Name, cultivation level, and position?" The red-haired guy standing in front of him looked quite rebellious. Leaning both hands on the desk, he replied, "Hu Bancheng, 9th stage of the Qi condensation realm, trainee demon slayer, team 7. The moment he spoke, the crowd behind him began whispering, "Is that Hu Bancheng? I heard he killed an armored Xianxia all by himself. Damn, isn't that something only a master at the inner Qi realm can do? And he is only at the 9th stage of the Qi condensation realm. Looks like this promotion to yellow rank demon slayer is already in the bag for him. Plus, the successor of the White Horse Silver Spear, Bai Maiming, is also participating." Hu Bancheng stood there arrogantly, muttering, "Man, if I knew he was signing up, I wouldn't have even bothered showing up." The white-haired old man coldly called out, "Next." Pushing through the crowd, a long, white-haired youth stepped up to the desk and spoke clearly, "Ye Xuan, 7th stage of the Qi condensation realm. Trainee Demon Slayer, Team 2. The old man looked up at him and asked, 7th stage of the Qi condensation realm? Are you sure you want to sign up? Without a shred of hesitation, he replied, Positive. The crowd immediately erupted into chatter, whispering to one another, Did I hear that right? A mere 7th stage of the Qi condensation realm dares to enter? Is this kid out of his mind? Others started snickering. Ha ha ha, looks like we have got another daydreaming idiot on our hands. Someone else chimed in. I am at the 8th stage of the Qi condensation realm, and even I did not dare sign up. A nobody like him really does not know his place. Hearing this, Ye Xuan whipped around and glared at the crowd, scoffing coldly. You are all just a bunch of frogs in a well. If winning was decided solely by cultivation level, then why even bother having a tournament? Everyone could just state their cultivation level and call it a day. He let out a mocking laugh. Too cowardly to step up yourselves, yet you have the nerve to mock others. How pathetic. Flustered and embarrassed by his words, they started making lame excuses. Hey, we just call that knowing our limits. Thinking he is all that, completely clueless about his own limits. Just as things are getting tense, a loud shout rings out. You are absolutely right, brother. I completely agree. The surprised crowd turns to look, and the speaker is none other than Gu Qingfeng. Squeezing through the crowd, he walks up to Ye Xuan with a smile and says, Brother Ye, your courage is truly admirable. I am deeply inspired. Under the morning sun, he cups his hands and looks at him sincerely, saying, I was actually hesitating because of my low cultivation. He even pats him on the shoulder, acting friendly. But now that Brother Yi is taking the lead, I might as well join in on the fun. Yu Xuan gets the hint and replies, You are incredibly righteous and straightforward, brother. Your courage is commendable. So what if your cultivation is low? Hearing this, the crowd falls dead silent. Ye Xuan takes this opportunity to lecture the crowd. A martial artist must have a dauntless heart and never fear a powerful enemy. Even the old man in charge of registration starts to feel a bit uneasy. This Brother Ye's eyes are so calm and sharp. If you meet a strong enemy today and do not dare to draw your sword, it will be the same tomorrow. There will always be someone stronger than you in this world, so does that mean you will never dare to draw your sword? The weaker people standing on the outskirts feel a sudden surge of courage upon hearing this. Getting pumped up, they shout in admiration, Young Hero Ye is absolutely right. I am also at the 7th stage of Qi condensation. I want to sign up too. I am so inspired. That makes total sense. Count me in too. Me too. Gu Qingfeng stretches out his hand. He looks at Ye Xuan sincerely, calling him brother. The other guy does not hesitate to grab his hand, saying, If you and I fight shoulder to shoulder, even if we are only at the 7th stage of Qi condensation, we can still carve out a path of our own. Hearing this, his face turns red, and he scratches his head in embarrassment. Cough, actually. I am only at the 3rd stage of Qi condensation. The moment those words leave his mouth, Ye Xuan is utterly flabbergasted and speechless. The bystanders break into a cold sweat, screaming in shock, challenging someone 6 levels higher. If you want to die, you can find another way. There is no need to humiliate yourself like this. While everyone else is worrying, he remains carefree with a bright smile, waving his hand at them. Rest assured, brother, since I dare to sign up, I obviously have a trick or two up my sleeve. Even the old registrar is left dumbfounded. Without a single trace of hesitation, he places his registration token on the table and declares proudly, Gu Qingfeng, 3rd stage of Qi condensation, jailer of the Demon Suppressing Prison. Later that night in Zhang family village, as his horse gallops along, Gu Qingfeng is busy thinking of a plan. With only a few days left before the tournament, I need a suitable spirit weapon. He is full of hope, believing the Wood King's sword that the Locust Tree Demon mentioned is his best option right now. Suddenly, he looks up with a start, breaking into a sweat as a glowing green orb floats in midair right in front of him. It seems to be growing larger, as if absorbing the spiritual energy of this area. Clutching the cloth bundle in his arms, he shouts, I avoided the main road just to find you. Seeing this glowing orb, he figures a treasure must be nearby, which means demons are bound to show up. Gu Qingfeng even stands up on his saddle, keeping his eyes glued to the orb, and those demons are nothing but EXP sacks to me. He leaps off his horse's back, reaching out to grasp the mysterious light. He catches it right on target, but is met with an odd sense of emptiness, as if his hand had grabbed nothing but air. Landing on the ground, he opens his palm, only to see a single firefly flutter away. It turns out that glowing orb was just a massive swarm of fireflies. Gu Qingfeng stares blankly at the scene and murmurs, Fireflies? The fireflies in this world look exactly like devil eyes. Got my hopes up for nothing. Watching the fireflies cast a shimmering, magical glow under the moonlight, he thinks to himself, still, this place is actually beautiful. But he quickly shakes off the distraction, leading his horse away. Whatever, let's find the Wood King sword first. Soon, a mountain temple appears before him. Since I didn't run into a single demon on the way, should I call myself lucky or unlucky? No demons, just a swarm of 5 million fireflies. Yeah, my luck is definitely trash. Stepping inside the temple, he recalls, the Locust Tree Demon said the Wood King sword is buried 3 feet under the old locust tree in the mountain temple behind Zhang family village. With that in mind, he pushes open the door and enters, excitedly muttering, "It is in the yard! It is in the yard!" Right before him stands a massive locust tree, eliciting a soft gasp from him. A tree this big might actually turn into another Locust Tree Demon in a few years. Pulling out the digging tools he prepared earlier, he looks up at the tree and declares, "This Wood King sword is mine." He tosses the tool bag onto the ground, grabs a shovel, and shouts excitedly, "Time to work." He then starts digging away with full energy. As time passes, he digs a massive hole under the tree trunk, humming a tune as if he doesn't feel any fatigue at all. Suddenly, his shovel hits something hard. His eyes light up instantly as he gasps, "Jackpot!" Digging a bit further, he uncovers a wooden box carefully buried in the soil. In the dead of night, Qingfeng sits there with the box open, revealing a wooden sword inside. He stares blankly at the wooden sword, utterly speechless, and breaking into a cold sweat. He picks up the weapon and wonders, did that Locust Tree Demon carve this piece of junk himself? Feeling the rough texture, he thinks, well, let's give it a swing. He quickly brandishes the sword, pulling off a quick sequence of moves. Qingfeng aimed straight for the shovel handle and slashed his wooden sword down with all his might, but to his absolute disbelief, the sword just snapped right in half. Watching it break left him completely devastated. He had spent all his energy digging it up, only for this stupid sword to be weaker than a wooden shovel handle. His eyes went wide, and his jaw hit the floor. The Wood King sword was broken, yet the shovel didn't have a single scratch on it. Feeling a mix of intense disappointment and burning rage, he gritted his teeth and cursed under his breath, wishing he could rip that old man's head off. "You damn Locust Tree Demon, you're dead meat. Just wait till I get back. I'm gonna chop you to pieces." But before he could even finish venting his anger, the broken sword suddenly restored itself right before his eyes. Dumbfounded, he muttered, "Wait, it's healed?" The broken tip of the blade lying on the ground sank into the soil as massive locust tree roots violently burst out of the earth, tearing through the ground as they rose. Qingfeng froze in shock at the sudden mutation. The wild roots stretched out rapidly, tightly wrapping around him. They locked onto the sword, wrapping around it in an unyielding grip. Suddenly, a brilliant green beam of light shot up from the ground straight into the sky, lifting his sword high into the air. Startled and panicked, he cried out, "What the hell is happening?" Gritting his teeth, he roared, "Eat my Avada Kedavra," and unleashed a powerful strike directly at the locust tree. The blast slammed into the locust tree, leaving a massive dent in its trunk. Qingfeng gasped, his eyes lighting up with pure excitement. So, this was how you actually use the Wood King sword. Once the tree took the hit, the sword stopped glowing and quieted down. He sat down, staring intently at the weapon. According to the Locust Tree Demon, he needed to drip his blood on it to claim ownership. He opened his palm and looked at the sword, which already had a chip on one edge. Frustrated, he slammed the wooden blade against his palm, but the stubborn thing didn't react at all, completely unfazed. Suddenly, several tiny green sprouts shot out from the sword on the ground, and in the blink of an eye, they grew into massive vines that towered over him. The sharp vines lunged forward, aiming straight for Qingfeng's chest. Startled, he blurted out, "Holy crap!" Beams of red and green light pierced his chest, lifting his entire body into the air. Crimson, blood-like cracks began to slowly spread across the sword's surface, giving it an eerie, demonic look. What Qingfeng didn't realize was that spiritual weapons don't just accept anyone as their master. A master must possess matching strength to control a spiritual weapon. Otherwise, during the binding process, the weapon can easily drain its host's blood until they're a dry corpse. Collapsed on the ground, his body pulsed with an eerie red glow. Grimacing in pain, he screamed, "Ah! Why are you still sucking my blood?" He quickly clenched his fists as a powerful green light surged from his hands. Raising the glowing red sword high, he roared, "Stop! Stop this instant, or I swear I will bury you back in the dirt." The moment those words left his mouth, the sword instantly drew back its murderous intent. Qingfeng leaned on the sword, collapsing to his knees. Panting heavily with wide, sweat-drenched eyes, he thought in sheer terror, "Damn it, this thing is pure evil. If he hadn't brought it under control just now, it definitely would have drained him dry." He set the sword down, refusing to touch it again, as his strength slowly returned. Normally, it takes the cultivation of the inner chi realm to control a spiritual weapon, along with supplying enough energy for it to absorb. Qingfeng took a deep breath, steadying his body. Placing his hands in front of his abdomen, he sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to cultivate. A gentle green light enveloped him as his spiritual essence flowed. Since Qingfeng was only in the chi-gathering realm, his only choice was to let the spiritual weapon feast on his own blood. If it weren't for his extraordinary physical constitution, he would have been a lifeless corpse a long time ago. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, and he frowned, staring intently ahead. The system interface popped up, displaying the wooden sword's stats, including its rank and unique abilities. It was truly a mystical weapon. Even if snapped in half, it could endlessly regenerate. Reading the description, Qingfeng picked up his saber from the ground and thought, "So that Locust Tree Demon didn't lie to me after all. This Wood King sword is the real deal." He rested his chin on his hand, observing the sword as a devious plan formed in his mind. As a reward, I'll find an opportunity to liberate that tree demon. Right at that moment, a flash of lightning ripped through the pitch-black sky, followed by a deafening roar of thunder. After all, rotting away in the Demon Suppressing Prison is such a waste. Why not use it to feed my Wood King sword instead? Just thinking about it brought a sinister grin to his face. Soon, torrential rain began to pour. He looked up at the stormy sky and cursed his luck. "Damn, there's no way I can head back in this weather. I guess I'll have to take shelter in the temple." He dashed toward the abandoned temple and pushed the heavy wooden doors wide open. Right in the center of the hall stood a headless statue. Qingfeng hurried inside and quickly shut the door behind him. Looking around the room, he murmured, "According to the Demon Suppressing Manual, a mountain deity worshipped by tens of thousands of people gathers the collective will of the living, granting them the power to ward off evil and avoid misfortune. This temple is clearly ancient, with cobwebs covering the ceiling, and the statue's head has completely fallen off. Therefore, once a mountain deity's statue is shattered, it means a powerful demon has appeared in this area, one capable of destroying a god's vessel. This is an omen of extreme danger, so I must stay on high alert." With that in mind, he immediately started a small fire to keep warm, thinking to himself, "I didn't expect to run into any demons on the road. But seeking shelter at this mountain deity temple has turned out to be quite a harvest." As he munched on a flatbread, he grimaced, "Ugh, this tastes awful." Suddenly, a noise echoed from outside. He tensed up, looking toward the door with absolute caution, yet he calmly lay down on the floor to rest without showing any fear. Out in the pouring rain, a group of people was approaching. Hearing the commotion, he paused and listened closely, wondering, "Did some demons find me this quickly?" Suddenly, a voice called out from the darkness, "Let's stop here." Moments later, the temple doors swung open, and 3 people stepped inside. Among them was a veiled young woman, but even with her face covered, her striking beauty was immediately obvious. Startled, he whipped around to face them and offered a casual greeting. Watching the people who just entered the temple, Qingfeng thought to himself, "Oh, so they are not demons after all?" They all stared at each other in silence until the bald guy suddenly frowned and glared at him. Looking highly alert, he quickly shielded the young lady and called out, "Miss, it is pouring outside today." Meanwhile, our guy just sat quietly by the fire, staring at them in silence. The bald man scanned him from head to toe, sizing up his clothes and the digging tools resting beside him. With that, he turned back to the young lady, putting on a serious expression. "This temple seems pretty safe. My men and I will stay right by your side, so please rest easy, miss." The girl let out a sigh of relief and replied, "Thank you, Uncle Singh, and everyone else for your hard work. You two, come with me, Uncle Singh, please arrange the rest." The guards cupped their hands and shouted, "Yes, miss," and quickly dispersed to guard the perimeter of the temple. Qingfeng remained seated quietly by the fire. He looked at them and thought, "Damn, what a massive escort. There are even several guys standing guard out there in the freezing rain." Suddenly, something put them on high alert, making them look around anxiously. He wondered if this night would actually be peaceful. Back inside, the gorgeous girl beamed with a bright smile, raising her hand to greet him. "Hello, young master." Seeing this, he smiled warmly back and replied, "Hello, miss." Suddenly, a silver ingot was tossed right in front of him. The bald guy spoke to him in a condescending tone. "Hey, kid, this mountain god temple is way too small and cramped. Here are 2 taels of silver. Take it and find somewhere else to stay." Hearing this, Qingfeng was a bit surprised, but instead of giving him an answer, he casually picked up a piece of cake to eat. With an annoyed look on his face, he thought, "I found this place first. Who the hell do you think you are?" He stuffed the entire cake into his mouth, and while chewing, he looked at him provocatively and replied, "Not enough. You have to pay more." The guy snapped back immediately. "Then name your price." Our protagonist's eyes lit up instantly as he blurted out a number. 24 taels. Hearing this amount, the bald man practically exploded with murderous intent. He glared at him threateningly and growled, "Kid, do not be so insatiably greedy." Seeing his reaction, our guy was slightly startled, realizing, "Holy crap, true Qi realm. This guy is way stronger than I thought. If he were only in the inner Qi realm, I could rely on a few of my skills to gamble on a fight. But since he is in the true Qi realm, a wise man knows when to back down." Just as he was wondering what to do, the beautiful young lady stepped right between them. Holding the bald man back, she said, "He clearly got here first. How could we just drive him away?" She even blushed gracefully, looking at him with a soft smile. "My houseguard was a bit rude. Please do not hold it against him, young master." Since the beauty had spoken up, he took the opportunity to push further. "No worries. But are you sure you will not reconsider the 24 taels? We can even negotiate for 22 taels, you know." Even though it was obvious he was only after the money, the young lady sat down right next to him anyway. She warmly took off her veil, smiled, and said, "Please stop teasing me, young master. It is late at night, pouring rain outside, and there might even be demons lurking around." In this small temple, several people were now sitting around his campfire. Since she had put it that way, he stopped bargaining and replied, "Thank you for your kindness, miss." But in reality, Qingfeng was feeling extremely regretful, thinking, "Sigh. What is so scary about demons anyway? If I had known, I would not have bargained. 2 taels of silver is still better than nothing." But now that his chance to make a quick buck was gone, he could only munch on his cake in frustration. Suddenly, a massive flash of lightning crashed outside, and the rain showed no signs of letting up. Outside, the ground in front of the mountain god temple was already soaked in blood, littered with dead bodies. Then, all of a sudden, a chicken drumstick appeared right in front of his face, offered by the beautiful lady to Qingfeng. She looked at him shyly and said, "Young master, if you do not mind, we can share this meal together." Seeing this, the surrounding guards turned dark with jealousy. One of them grumbled, "Miss, we do not have much food left." But our guy did not hesitate for a second. He grabbed it immediately and said, "Then I will gladly accept. After all, why turn down delicious food?" As he took the drumstick, their fingers brushed against each other. The girl immediately blushed crimson, her heart racing fast. It looked like she was already totally smitten by him. She quickly pulled her hand back, her face red as she stole a shy, captivating glance at him. This made the guards even more furious. They crowded closer to him, wishing they could team up and beat Qingfeng to a pulp. Seeing how tense they were, he broke into a cold sweat and said with a chuckle, "Whoops, sorry brothers, my hand just slipped." The guards glared at him with eyes hot enough to incinerate him, but he remained completely unbothered, deliberately asking, "Miss, you are not only beautiful, but you also have a kind heart. This goo will surely remember this meal. By the way, may I ask for your name?" She shyly looked away and replied, "My name is Ziwei, and yours, young master?" He grinned, leaning toward her with the chicken drumstick in hand. "I am Qingfeng. So, where are you all heading?" The girl replied honestly, "My father was transferred to Wutong County a few days ago. Since everything has settled down now, he asked me to come join him." Her eyes sparkled with joy as she looked at him. "What a coincidence. I did not expect you to be from Wutong County as well, young Master Gu." Under the flickering firelight, the two of them continued to chat happily. "Would you mind introducing some of the interesting local customs in Wutong County, young master?" He readily replied, "Well, you have asked the right person." In Wutong County, the two of them chatted endlessly, just like that. Suddenly, the bald man grew alert, his eyes scanning the darkness outside like sparks of fire. Concealing his massive saber behind his back, he signaled everyone to keep quiet. The atmosphere instantly became extremely tense as he gave a serious order. "Protect the young lady. I will go outside and check it out." Seeing this, The men quickly surrounded Tuvi and shouted in unison, "Understood." The bald man rushed outside like a flash of lightning, but he froze in shock at the sight before him. The temple courtyard was already drenched in blood and littered with corpses. Looking around in sheer disbelief, he muttered to himself, "How did I not notice this? Was it because of the rain?" There wasn't even a single trace of a struggle. Every single kill was a one-hit fatal blow. Lost in shock, he failed to notice a dark figure looming on the roof. This bizarre, monstrous figure had long red hair and razor-sharp fangs. Staring down at the bald man, he sneered. "So, you've finally noticed. Old Go Xing, you really made me hunt you down all this way." Hearing the voice, the bald man instantly looked up at the roof where the monster stood. The monster leapt down, his entire body radiating a bloody, crimson aura. To think you'd avoid the main road and risk taking this narrow mountain path instead. He landed right behind the bald man. Old Ghost Xing spun around, his eyes wide with rising panic. "Are you Master White Bone of the Blood Demon sect?" The monster sneered, not denying it for a second. At least you have some common sense. I'm in a good mood today. Hand over to Qingyun's daughter, and I might just spare your miserable life." But of course, Old Ghost Xing wasn't about to back down. Raising his sword, he glared at the monster and spat, "Over my dead body. I won't let you lay a single finger on the young lady." With those words, he charged forward to fight to the bitter end. Inside the temple, Gu Qingfeng and the others heard the bald man's desperate shout from outside, "Over my dead body. I won't let you lay a single finger on the young lady." Gu Qingfeng looked out toward the rain, slightly startled. "The Blood Demon sect? Master White Bone?" Hearing the commotion, Tuvi panicked, turning to her guards in a sweat. "What is the Blood Demon sect? And who is this Master White Bone? Why does Uncle Xing sound so terrified of him?" One of the guards quickly explained, "Young lady, the Blood Demon sect is an evil cult made up of martial artists who worship demons. They are complete lunatics." With deep worry in his eyes, he continued, "In their pursuit of supreme power and immortality, they practice demonic arts to turn themselves into monsters. Every single member is a half-human, half-demon abomination. Master White Bone is one of their high-ranking elders. He's a master in the Aura realm and a descendant of the notorious corpse-refining clan." Just hearing those words sent shivers down Tuvi's spine. She gasped, covering her mouth in horror. Do they eat people?" Overwhelmed with fear, her legs gave out, and she began to fall backward. Fortunately, Gu Qingfeng stepped in just in time to catch her. "Are you all right, milady?" he asked gently. Blushing with embarrassment, she stammered, I'm fine, thank you, young master." But her worry quickly returned as she whimpered, "But why? Why does the Blood Demon sect want to kidnap me? Is it because of my father?" One of her guards turned to her and answered, "Your father was promoted to the governor of Wutong Prefecture because he recently shut down a major operation run by the Blood Demon sect. They must be trying to kidnap you to take revenge on your father." Gu Qingfeng looked at the group, quite surprised by the revelation. Who would have thought this 2V was the daughter of such a high-ranking official in Wutong Prefecture? Clearing his throat, he tapped one of the guards on the shoulder. "Excuse me, brother. I have a quick question. Are these Blood Demon sect members actually humans, or are they demons?" The guard shot him a sharp look. "Why do you care?" Seeing their dismissive attitude, Gu Qingfeng's face darkened as he pointed a finger at his chest. He huffed, declaring, "Hey, my absolute specialty is hunting demons and monsters. I just need to be sure." He struck a confident, glowing pose, completely hyping himself up. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Gu Qingfeng, an apprentice demon slayer of the Wutong Demon Suppression Division." Tuvi's eyes immediately lit up, tears of hope welling up. "Oh, thank goodness. I had no idea you were with the Demon Suppression Division. I heard that the demon slayers are the absolute best at wiping out monsters. You definitely have a way to stop Master White Bone, right?" But instead of being impressed, the two guards burst out laughing, clutching their stomachs. One of them sneered contemptuously, "Young lady, he's just a low-life apprentice. That's the absolute lowest rank possible. His cultivation is barely at the chi-gathering realm. What could he possibly do?" Hearing this, 2V's excitement vanished. She grabbed his sleeve in worry. "Wait, is that true? Then please, don't go outside. Just stay here and let Uncle Xing protect you." Gu Qingfeng brushed off her concern with a shrug. "Don't worry about all that, just tell me, is this Master White Bone a human or a demon?" The guard chuckled mockingly. "They're half and half. They literally graft demon organs onto their bodies." Having gotten his answer, he quickly checked with his system. System. Can these half-demons actually hurt me? But to his absolute horror, the system was of no help this time. A message popped up on his screen. The system only triggers and powers up when attacked by actual demons, not half-demons. This meant his cheat system was completely useless against a half-demon. Qingfeng froze in sheer terror. He had talked such big game, and now he was completely screwed. Ugh, this stupid system is totally useless, he cursed internally. If the guard can't beat Master White Bone, I'm going to get dragged into this too. Damn it, I should have just kept my big mouth shut. Suddenly, the temple doors were blasted wide open. The two guards could only brace themselves, clutching their swords as they guarded the entrance, waiting in absolute terror. Stepping through the dust was a gruesome, gray skeleton. One of its eyes glowed with an eerie light, and its rotting fangs protruded disgustingly from its mouth. Staring at the monster, Qingfeng panicked. A Xianxia. It's just like little Shimei. Watching a horde of undead charging in from the outside, 2V looks at him anxiously. He stares intently at the entrance, thinking, looks like these are the zombies created by Bacot Thuangyan. These monsters grab the bodyguard's swords. Neither guard is a match for the zombies. With just a single toss, both of them are sent flying. A few guards still stand firm with their swords, shielding the front, followed by Kothan Fong, with 2V standing right behind him. One bodyguard blocks the first zombie with his sword and quickly yells to his comrade, "There are too many of them. Go set up the barrier now." The guard behind him replies in a panic, "But you can't hold them off alone." The other shouts back, "Stop arguing and go." The comrade nods and quickly runs off. The one staying behind to block the path feels his energy being drained away, terrified, as his very life force burns out. He swings his sword, slicing down one zombie, but outside, a massive crowd of them is still flooding in. The other bodyguard sits cross-legged inside a circle of fire, likely trying his best to set up the barrier. Kothan Fong can't just stand by and watch. He draws his sword and charges forward, thinking, I might not be able to handle that old bastard Bacot Thuangnan, but these zombies are a piece of cake. I can probably find a chance to break through their perimeter in a bit. Just as they are fighting, a zombie has already sneaked up right behind the girl. Seeing its arm reaching out to grab her, he quickly shouts, "Tu Vi, watch your back." Fortunately, a bamboo hat flies in and slices the monster's arms right off. A shout rings out, "The barrier is complete." The bodyguard, covered in bloody wounds, says with a relieved smile, "We did it." The sword in his hand shatters into pieces. Who would have thought even a bronze armor zombie could be this tough? His figure gradually begins to fade. Smiling as he looks at the girl, he thinks to himself, I'm glad the young lady is safe. They had done everything they could to protect their master. Right now, dozens of other zombies are rushing in from the outside. Meanwhile, outside, Old Ghost Hin and Bacot Thuangyan are locked in a fierce, neck-and-neck battle with no clear winner in sight. But the cultist manages to land a slash on the bald old man's arm, smirking triumphantly, "Don't even dream of succeeding." The bald man's sword glows with a purple light as it flies down. Bacot Thuangnan gives a sly grin and says, "Your battlefield is right here." The bald man's sword is caught in his grasp and pulled straight down into the ground, leaving the two of them standing face to face in the pouring rain. The villain sneers, "None of you will escape." Old Ghost Hin's eyes burn with absolute rage. His entire body begins to transform, his muscles bulging as his wounds quickly heal up. His eyes widen as purple light radiates a deadly aura, and he roars, "Die!" With that, he clenches his fists and charges. But Bacot Thuangnan shows no fear, laughing mockingly, "Going all out? With just your level of strength?" They clash once again. Old Ghost Hin throws a devastating punch, but the villain effortlessly slips to the side to dodge it. As the punch barely grazes his forehead, he just smirks. Then, he opens his mouth and fires back with a counterattack. That single blow sends Old Ghost Hin crashing to the ground. Shaking all over, he slides across the dirt and slams hard into a tree. Blood gushes from his mouth. Leaning against the tree trunk in anger, the bald old man winces and says, "You actually refined yourself into a silver armor zombie." Bacot Thuangnan walks over with a sinister grin. He extends his hand toward the bald man, red killing intent swirling around it. This is the true power of a zombie. A perfect being, impervious to blades and spears, possessing absolute strength, and capable of eternal youth just by drinking fresh blood. Hehehe. Watching this unfold from inside, 2V cries out in panic, "Uncle Hin." Even Kothan Fong feels a chill. He glares with gritted teeth, thinking, a silver armor zombie, what a monster. Peering inside at that exact moment, the villain chuckles, oh, there's some incredibly rich vital energy over there. The bald man's head slumps to his chest as he struggles to say, get the young lady out of here. Watching the demon's back as he walks toward the temple, the old man calls out desperately, my lady, run, but those are his final words. Seeing the zombies surrounding the defensive circle of the two guards, Qingfeng quickly asks the system, zombies count as demons and monsters, right? He clenches his fists and charges forward. Since someone actually turned themselves into a monster, today is my turn to show off my divine power. Standing right in front of her, 2V frowns in confusion and asks, what did you say, young Master Ko? Divine what? He steps up to reassure her. Nothing. I just wanted to say thank you for the barbecue. To repay you, I'll take care of Ba Kot Thuong Nan for you. She looks at him in disbelief. Young Master Ko, can you really do it? One of the guys sitting cross-legged on the ground meditating hears this and immediately pipes up. My lady, don't listen to this brat's nonsense. He's clearly lost his mind out of sheer terror. The moment the words leave his mouth, Qingfeng swiftly snatches a mirror from above his head, saying, pardon me, young man. And just like that, the protective barrier envelops his body. Ignoring the guards' panicked cries of, young master, single-handedly, he takes the place of the two guards to confront the horde of zombies. 2V screams in panic, young Master Ko. But in the blink of an eye, the zombies swarm him from all sides, and his sword clatters to the ground. Seeing the sword fall, she grows even more frantic. Fighting the zombies bare-handed, he has now lured the entire horde out the door. Get away from them. Ziwei, standing inside the protective barrier, looked out and was deeply moved, thinking, young Master Gu must be buying us time to escape. Even that other guy had to change his tune, saying with sheer admiration, young Master Gu, I was wrong about you. I misjudged your noble intentions. I will never forget this debt of gratitude. Right then, a barrage of notifications popped up on his system. You have been attacked. Defense armor stats increased. And just like that, the points kept rolling in. Suddenly, Ziwei pointed outside and screamed, look! That massive sphere of zombies is rolling toward the door. The other guy added with hope in his voice, maybe young Master Gu is still alive. By this time, the ball of zombies enveloping him had already rolled out the door. There were so many zombies that his body was completely buried, but the system notifications just kept ringing in his head. Congratulations, host. You have breached your defense limit. Your bronze skin and iron bones have evolved into the Vajra Body. Peeking out from behind the door, Ziwei murmured in awe, as expected of the young master. Meanwhile, outside, Reverend White Bone and Old Ghost Xing, who were in the middle of a brutal duel, stopped and stared in sheer confusion. Just as they were watching, Gu Qingfeng unleashed a burst of power from the center of the sphere, spreading his arms wide and blowing the horde of zombies to pieces from the inside out. Reverend Whitebone's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. He stood there calmly with his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes gleaming with sheer excitement as he locked eyes with the two foes. Reverend Whitebone's eyes turned bloodshot, his veins bulging as he bared his sharp fangs with a wicked laugh. Cackle, cackle, cackle. In a flash, he unleashed a blazing red flame straight at him, thinking, I can't believe there is someone this arrogant in this world, standing dead still against my Whitebone devil flame. So what if your cultivation is higher, or your body is tougher, he thought, watching the raging fire engulf his target. My Whitebone devil flame is made from the bones of tens of thousands of humans, combined with hundreds of demon skeletons from the Gangchi realm, refined over decades. It specializes in corrupting the body and soul, no matter who you are. Just as he was visualizing the guy's painful demise, a voice drifted out from the flames. Ah, that feels so warm and cozy. Reverend Whitebone froze on the spot, his mouth hanging wide open in utter shock. He quickly leaped backward as the flames slowly began to dissipate. Standing in the heart of the fire, Gu Qingfeng flicked his wrist, and the system chimed, Congratulations, host. You have acquired the innate talent, fire manipulation. So, instead of killing him, the enemy's ultimate attack had ended up gifting him a brand new power. As the notifications kept chiming, he unlocked even more abilities. Watching the fire die down, he winked at the demon and asked, Got anything else? The old monster broke into a cold sweat, staring in absolute disbelief as his mind screamed, This is impossible! No one in this world can survive a direct hit from the Whitebone devil flame. He stood there paralyzed, staring at his own red flame dancing casually in the young man's palm. No, This can't be happening. I can't even feel my connection to the flame anymore. Did he steal it from me? Panicking, his hands flew into rapid seals, pointing frantically at the flame as he called out, "Flame, come back, return to me." He kept backing away, desperately chanting. But Gu Qingfeng just looked at the flame in his palm. It didn't budge at all, completely ignoring its former master. Gu Qingfeng smirked and mocked him. "Well, since it's mine now, how about you go to hell?" Yet, the old monster stubbornly held his hand signs, thinking to himself, "This is the white bone devil flame I spent decades refining. You can't just take it, give it back." Seeing him refuse to give up, Gu Qingfeng lost his patience and warned, "Hey, I'm actually a very reasonable guy." He planted his feet firmly on the ground. "You want it back? Fine, here it is." He wound up his arm to hurl the fire at him. Terrified, the old demon didn't even dare to look back, turning on his heels and running for his life. But his speed was no match for the flame. He glanced back only to see the fiery blast right on his tail. He screamed at the top of his lungs. His face was deathly pale. Within seconds, the fire swallowed him whole, triggering a massive explosion that blasted the entire area to pieces. A column of crimson fire erupted from the ground straight into the sky, accompanied by a deafening boom. The guy inside rushed out, while Ziwei, shielding her face from the terrifying shockwave, strained her eyes to see through the dust. Even old Ghost Xing was sent flying through the air in a high arc before crashing heavily onto the ground. He lay there, coughing up blood, tears welling up in his eyes from the agonizing pain. The guy who just ran out screamed in panic, "Brother Xing." Ziwei also cried out in worry, "Uncle Xing." As the red flames gradually died down, Gu Qingfeng thought to himself, "That should do it." With that thought, he took a deep breath, inhaling the remaining embers back into his chest. For some bizarre reason, old Ghost Xing's body suddenly got launched into the air again, making the other two scream in sheer terror. "Brother Xing!" They frantically dashed over to him. He quickly tried to reassure them, I am fine, I am fine." But his body kept rolling uncontrollably across the dirt, looking absolutely miserable despite his stubborn words. Gu Qingfeng watched him with a highly puzzled expression, wondering why on earth this guy was bouncing up and down like a rubber ball. Ziwei ran over to him, calling out, Young Master Gu." Meanwhile, the other guy helped old Ghost Xing to his feet. Seeing her run up, he asked with concern, "Lady Ziwei, are you hurt?" She smiled warmly and replied, "No, I am totally fine." Staring at the pile of ashes on the ground, they all cried out in shock. Reverend White Bone has been burned to ashes. And now, he only just noticed, awkwardly scratching his head in frustration. Damn it, he couldn't loot the corpse now. A peak Gangchi realm powerhouse. His storage ring must be packed with countless treasures, spiritual weapons, magical herbs, secret martial arts manuals, and gold. The more he thought about it, the more his head throbbed. Seeing him sitting on the ground, clutching his head in agony, the young lady walked up to him and asked with concern, Young Master Gu, are you all right?" He didn't expect her to lean so close, bringing her full, shapely chest right into his line of sight. As he mumbled that he was fine, his eyes were locked right onto her chest. Ziwei realized he was staring and blushed, feeling a bit flustered, but a second later, she coyly looked away, puffing her chest out even more. Gu Qingfeng couldn't tear his eyes away, thinking to himself that the young lady had definitely fallen for him. Supporting each other, the other two men stared at the scene, completely dumbfounded. He confidently thought to himself, "Well, makes sense. What woman could resist a handsome, dashing, incredibly powerful, and charmingly witty man like me?" He finally stood up and adjusted his collar, acting a bit shy. Looking over at the other two men, he laughed, "Ha ha ha, great. Let's get back to eating then. That roasted meat from earlier was delicious. We shouldn't let it go to waste." Seeing this, one of the guards tilted his head and asked in absolute disbelief, "You just one-shotted a peak Gangchi realm powerhouse, and you're already thinking about eating roasted meat?" Ignoring him, he walked right past and said, "In this vast world, filling your stomach always comes first." Hearing this, Ziwei quickly followed. He even repeated his words, "Yes, filling your stomach always comes first. Uncle Xing, slow down." With that, the four of them headed back into the ruined temple. The firewood they used to start the fire was still there. The moment they stepped inside, Elder Xing suddenly cupped his hands and bowed deeply, shouting, "Thank you for saving our lives, Senior. I was blind before and offended a grandmaster. Please forgive my insolence, Senior." Seeing his dead serious expression, Gu Qingfeng smiled as he stoked the fire. "Forget the senior stuff. I'm just an apprentice demon slayer from the Demon Suppression Division. I only saved you guys. He drooled, staring at the fragrant meat roasting over the fire. Because it was my duty. Plus, Lady Ziwei's roasted meat is seriously delicious. Elder Xing's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly let out a hearty laugh at his own expense. Ah, forgive my forwardness. My sincerest thanks to you, young Master Gu. To be honest, I am the butler of Lord Yun, the newly appointed governor of Wutong Prefecture, and this is our young mistress. Ziwei looked slightly surprised to hear him introduce them like this. Suddenly, the old man reached into his pocket to search for something. Aha! He pulled out a wooden medallion carved with the words, Prefectural Command Token, and presented it to him. Young master, please accept this token. He respectfully offered it with both hands, politely adding, if you ever run into any trouble in Wutong Prefecture, just show this token. People there will definitely show some respect for my master. Sensing that it would be useful, Qingfeng gladly took it. Then I won't stand on ceremony. Looking at the wooden token in surprise, he thought, a command token? Suddenly, one of the guards dropped straight to his knees on the floor. Cupping his hands, he pleaded sincerely, I said some terrible things and offended you, young master. Yet, you didn't hold a grudge and even saved my life. He bowed his head low to the ground and added, I am deeply ashamed of my actions. Please, punish me, young master. Hearing this, Qingfeng casually replied, you're right, you definitely deserve to be punished. Hearing this, Ziwei turned to look at him in surprise. She was about to plead for the guard, saying, young master. But before she could finish, Elder Xing grabbed her shoulder to stop her. He whispered, my lady, do not interfere. An extraordinary powerhouse like him is not someone ordinary mortals can offend. It is highly unwise to cross a grandmaster just for a guard. Hearing this, Qingfeng's eyes lit up. He casually told the guard, all right, then your punishment will be a fine of 24 silver taels. Upon hearing that, Ziwei's face lit up with a bright smile, while Elder Xing's jaw dropped in absolute shock. The guard was absolutely overjoyed. He practically wept with gratitude, bowing repeatedly. Thank you, young master. It was all my fault. Forget 24 taels, even if it were 200. Qingfeng's eyes immediately turned into giant dollar signs. Drooling, he thought, wait, how much? But before he could agree, Elder Xing rushed in front of the guard and snapped, foolishness! He threw his hand out to stop him, and began lecturing the guard as if he knew everything. With the young master's grand status, how could he possibly care about your measly silver? He was merciful enough to let you off easy, so hurry up and thank young Master Gu already. It was like a light bulb went off in the guard's head. He realized with astonishment, ah, that's right. Young Master Gu is a legendary grandmaster. His jaw dropped. How could someone like him ever be short of money? Offering him money is practically insulting a grandmaster. With that thought, he began weeping again, knocking his head against the floor. Thank you, young master. Thank you so much. Sob, sob, sob. Meanwhile, Qingfeng could only watch in despair as his massive payday sprouted wings and flew away. I was so close to getting a fortune. The guard knelt and offered him a single, shiny, silver ingot. Please accept this. Young master. Qingfeng didn't hesitate for a second. He snatched it and stuffed it straight into his robe. Elder Xing watched with a pleased, approving smile, completely unaware of how incredibly pissed off Qingfeng actually was. The jackpot was right within his grasp, only to slip away because of that bald geezer. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Glaring at him, he closed his eyes and raged internally. 24 taels is literally 10 years of my salary. I care about it. I care about it so damn much. Why did you have to go and stop him? He desperately wanted to scream those exact words right in that bald old man's face. Noticing the intense glare, Elder Xing felt utterly confused. He started to panic, thinking, Did I say something wrong just now? Did this guy seriously think the young master wouldn't even want these 24 taels of silver? And only wanted to give him a slap on the wrist? Talk about naive. If I didn't care about money, I would have retired to the mountains long ago. After taking the cash, our guy tells the guard, let's just forget about this. You can stand up now. The two of them are overjoyed to be let off the hook so quickly without a single word of punishment. One thinks, as expected of a grandmaster-level expert, so incredibly generous. While the other thinks, young Master Gu's character is truly a shining example for us all to learn from. Meanwhile, back at the mountain god temple, those two guards are busy roasting a ton of meat. Gu Qingfeng is happily munching on a chicken drumstick, stuffing his face. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Once he is full, he just lies down to rest, letting those guys wait on him hand and foot. After all, he is in a completely different league now. Lying on a soft pile of straw with his hands behind his head, he can't help but think, this world is brutally realistic. Their attitude before and after everything went down is like night and day. If I weren't strong today, I probably would have lost my life right here. Suddenly, the system notification pops up. Congratulations, host, you have received the Vajra Body and Pyrokinesis talent. Staring at the description of these two powers, his eyes go wide. He wonders, is it really this powerful? Looking at the flame dancing in his palm, he is absolutely thrilled. With this combined with the White Bone demon fire gifted by Master White Bone, he is basically set. Thinking about it, he happily lies back down to enjoy his rest. Talk about a massive hall. Outside the temple, ruins stretch across the landscape as morning breaks. The next morning, he packs up his things and gets ready to leave. Suddenly, a voice calls out from behind. Gu Qingfeng turns around, and it turns out to be Lady Si Wei. With sparkling eyes and a blooming smile, she invites him. Would you like to head back to Wutong County with us, young master? Suddenly, she reaches up and removes her veil. Her breathtaking face is instantly revealed. Gu Qingfeng is completely dazed, thinking, wow, she is absolutely gorgeous. His face blushes red as he stares, unable to look away, prompting Si Wei to tilt her head and call out, young Master Gu? With a beautiful girl inviting him like this, how could he possibly say no? He agrees without a second thought, saying, it is my honor to accompany you to Wutong County, Lady Si Wei. Blushing with embarrassment, she softly replies, then I will have to rely on your care along the way, young Master Gu. 2 days later, they finally arrive at Wutong County. Their carriage convoy rolls into the city. Having reached their destination, he waves goodbye to the group. Lady Si Wei, I have to head back to the Demon Suppression Division now, so we will part ways here. Hopefully, our paths will cross again. Sitting inside the carriage, she pulls back the curtain and shyly bids him farewell. Safe travels, young Master Gu. Long after he leaves, she continues to watch his retreating back. Uncle Xing clasps his hands and bows, telling her, Miss, since you both reside in Wutong County, you will have plenty of chances to meet young Master Gu in the future. With her face still blooming with joy, she softly replies, Uncle Xing, let's head back to the manor to see my father first. He replies from outside the carriage, yes, miss. The city is bustling with energy, crowds filling the streets, and everyone looks as excited as if they are heading to a festival. As it turns out, some sort of competition is taking place here, complete with a long table for the judges. A man strikes a large bell with a loud clang and shouts, first match, Ye Xuan, 7th layer of the Qi Condensation Realm, versus He Yi, 9th layer of the Qi Condensation Realm. Begin. 2 opponents now stand face to face in the middle of the arena, before charging forward with swords drawn to clash. Spectators in the crowd start whispering, He Yi is so lucky. Going up against a 7th layer Qi condensation cultivator right off the bat basically guarantees his advancement. Others add mockingly, haha, I remember that guy Ye Xuan was talking so big during registration. Up on the stage, the intense battle between the two continues. Watching Ye Xuan struggle to defend himself, they gloat. Oh, right. I also remember him saying that cultivation level doesn't matter, and that combat prowess is what truly counts. And indeed, Ye Xuan is utterly defeated on stage. The spectators sneer in satisfaction. I can't wait to see him beg for mercy on his knees in just a moment. His opponent points his sword directly at Ye Xuan, boasting arrogantly, you lose. With that, he drives his knee hard into Ye Xuan's face. That brutal strike sends Ye Xuan flying right off the stage, crashing hard onto the ground. He Yi spits on the ground in disgust and mocks him. For a mere 7th layer Qi condensation cultivator to last 3 moves against me, you should be proud of yourself. But if you want to defeat me, you better go back and train for another 2 years. With that, he walks away, leaving Ye Xuan lying there alone. Just then, Gu Qingfeng rushes over to help him up. Seeing him, Ye Xuan seems to find some strength and calls out, Brother Gu. On stage, the bell clangs once again. Next match, Gu Qingfeng, 3rd layer of the Qi condensation realm, versus Lin Xiao. Looking deeply worried, Ye Xuan tries to advise him, Brother Gu, you should. But Gu Qingfeng immediately cuts him off. A gentleman's word is his bond. Once a promise is made, how can I back out? With that, He steps resolutely onto the arena. The onlookers are absolutely thrilled. They start laughing hysterically and gossiping, ha ha ha. Third layer of the Qi condensation realm. Can anyone tell me where this crazy guy Gu Qingfeng came from? The guy sitting next to him chimes in. Lin Xiao is getting a free pass this time, a total walkover. Another one agrees. A third layer Qi condensation kid actually wants to compete for the yellow rank Demon Slayer position? Is this a joke? This idiot must be the one who actually listened to Ye Xuan's nonsense earlier. Standing below, Ye Xuan hears every single insult. His face darkens, and he grits his teeth, consumed by regret and self-blame. He blamed himself, realizing that in the end, he was the one who had dragged Gu Qingfeng into this mess. As he sat there with his head down, a figure suddenly appeared right in front of him. It was the big guy in the red cloak. He coldly told Ye Xuan, "Since you have lost, Master Ye, please leave immediately." Ye Xuan was confused, but he clearly wanted to stay and watch Gu Qingfeng fight. However, the man cut him off instantly, saying, "The martial arena of the Demon Suppression Division has its own rules." Seeing how persistent the guard was, Ye Xuan had no choice but to leave. Meanwhile, Gu Qingfeng had already stepped onto the arena stage. Lin Xiao looked at him eagerly, thinking, he really is only at the third stage of the Qi condensation realm. This is basically a free win. It seems heaven is truly on my side. With that thought, he sneered contemptuously and began to mock him. What a waste of time. Why even bother coming up here? The result is going to be the same anyway, you lose. Hearing this, Gu Qingfeng showed his clear displeasure and retorted, "My friend, you are dead wrong. We haven't even fought yet, so the outcome is still undecided." A cruel gleam flashed in the guy's eyes as he sneered. "Humph, you don't know what's good for you. I don't want anyone saying I'm bullying the weak, so I'll give you a chance to draw your weapon." Gu Qingfeng stretched his body in front of him and asked with curiosity, "Aren't you going to use a weapon?" The guy furrowed his brows in deep contempt. "To deal with someone like you, I don't even need a sword." "Ah, I see." Gu Qingfeng tilted his head, looking at him skeptically. "But wait, wouldn't that mean I'm just bullying an unarmed man? If I defeat you with a weapon, you will definitely complain that my victory was unfair." Hearing this, the guy's face filled with even more arrogant disdain. He stated clearly, "Go ahead and use whatever weapon you want. If you can make me move even a single foot, I'll count it as my loss. And I promise I won't say you won unfairly." Hearing such arrogant words annoyed Gu Qingfeng a bit. No longer holding back, he drew his sword, thinking, no matter who you are, nobody should be that arrogant. Gu Qingfeng's expression grew serious as he warned him, "You said it, not me." Seeing him like this, the guy panicked slightly, his mouth falling open. He wondered what was happening, but it turned out he wasn't shocked by Gu Qingfeng's aura, but rather surprised by the wooden sword he had just pulled out. Gu Qingfeng raised his sword and proudly introduced it. This sword is 3.3 feet long, 1.8 inches wide, and weighs 4.5 ounces. This sword is made from wood sourced from the far north, the heartwood of a 1,000-year-old Emperor Willow, and it took 18 years to forge. Its name is the Wood King Sword, a low-grade Xuan rank spiritual weapon. Please be the judge, my friend. The moment he finished speaking, everyone present burst into fits of laughter, pointing and mocking him. Ha ha ha. A crappy wooden sword, and he calls it a low-grade Xuan rank spiritual weapon. Another guy, laughing so hard tears came to his eyes, stood up and shouted, "I get it now. I get it. No wonder this brat dared to enter the martial competition. He's completely out of his mind." The entire spectator stands erupted with mockery directed at Gu Qingfeng. According to his logic, doesn't that make my iron sword a heaven-rank spiritual weapon? This is so entertaining. This match is definitely going to be the highlight of the day. Gu Qingfeng heard their words and thought, they're trying to humiliate me to break my focus, planning to launch a sneak attack to win. He lifted the sword in his hand, looking smugly at Lin Xiao, and asked, "My friend, since I'm using a Xuan-rank spiritual weapon, you won't say, I won unfairly, right?" The guy was completely frozen at this point, his face turning pale. He was clearly looking at Gu Qingfeng as if he were an alien. Thinking Gu Qingfeng was just a complete idiot, he let his guard down completely and blurted out, "Of course not." Seeing this, Gu Qingfeng felt reassured and got into his fighting stance. "Great, my friend, you are indeed generous." With those words, he charged forward with his sword. "Then this little brother will make his move. Take this." On the stage, the two were locked in a fierce battle, while the judges watched intently. Gu Qingfeng decisively thrust his sword toward Lin Xiao, slashing a deep gash right across his chest. But Lin Xiao grabbed the blade tightly with his hand and sneered. "Wooden swords are for children," he glared and warned. "Stop this foolish behavior of yours." With that, he snapped the tip of the sword clean off. Gu Qingfeng was furious. Just then, a deep cut ripped open across the guy's hand, and blood began to pour out, leaving him utterly stunned. The broken sword tip flew off with tremendous force, and he asked in a panic, "What's going on?" The snapped sword tip lying on the ground began to emit a powerful spiritual energy, and only then did he realize it was truly a Xuan rank spiritual weapon. In the blink of an eye, the tiny wooden sword tip transformed into a massive tree, tightly binding Lin Xiao. He screamed in agony, so he was telling the truth. "I'm the actual clown here. This piece of wood is really a Xuan rank spiritual weapon. Unbelievable." The tree began to constrict and attack him, trapping him inside its hollow trunk, making him think in terror. Against a Xuan rank spiritual weapon, how can someone at the 9th stage of the Qi condensation realm like me break free? He knew right then that he was finished. The tree wrapped around him like a giant python strangling its prey, looking as though it would crush him to death in just a matter of moments. His eyes turned bloodshot, and blood began to spew from his mouth. Gu Qingfeng just stood there, calmly teasing him. "Thanks for letting me win." The other guy gritted his teeth in sheer rage, sweat pouring down his face as he spat bitterly. "Gu Qingfeng, you won unfairly." He was totally backtracking now, completely contradicting what he had said earlier. Seeing this, Gu Qingfeng gave a soft, sarcastic laugh. "My friend, you were the one who told me to use a Xuan rank spiritual weapon. How can you say my victory is unfair?" Hearing this, he started playing dirty and resorted to stubborn denial. "Liar. Who on earth would have guessed that a wooden sword is actually a Xuan rank spiritual weapon?" He was whining like a toddler, while Gu Qingfeng just listened. Annoyed, Gu Qingfeng tapped his sword and tried to explain. "Before we started, I clearly told you. This is the Muwang sword, and I said it was a profound grade spiritual weapon. Everyone here heard me, so stop being a sore loser." But the guy just kept throwing a childish tantrum, crying, "No way. Gu Qingfeng, you only won because of your weapon. That is not fair. If you are so tough, let us fight again without weapons." Seeing him act like this, Gu Qingfeng quickly called the referee. "Deacon, sir, please settle this. Is there any rule saying we cannot use weapons?" Hearing this, the other guy started to panic. "Hey, stop waving your hands around. What a ridiculous match." It quickly went from a duel to a petty argument. The female judge sitting below could not help but laugh. "Haha, I really like this kid. He Fenghua, what do you say?" He Fenghua looked up with a dark expression, forced to admit there was indeed no such rule. The gong chimed, declaring Gu Qingfeng the winner. Only then did Gu Qingfeng command his sword to release Lin Xiao, before turning around to leave. Still bitter, Lin Xiao kept yelling, "Gu Qingfeng, do not you run. Let us fight again." Gu Qingfeng just turned back, gave him a smug smirk, and did not even bother to reply. Right then, He Fenghua slammed the table, stood up, and shouted, "Enough! Lin Xiao, you lost, now get off the stage." With no other choice, Lin Xiao could only grumble, "Yes, sir," while glaring at Gu Qingfeng, who was happily waving goodbye with a big grin. As Gu Qingfeng was walking down the hallway alone, a voice suddenly called out, "Little brother, wait a moment." Gu Qingfeng turned around in surprise. "Lord He?" Realizing He Fenghua had come to find him, he asked directly, "Are you here to buy my Muwang sword, Lord He?" The man did not deny it, and admitted, "That is right. Your current cultivation is too low to unleash the true power of a profound grade spiritual weapon. I am willing to offer you 1,000 taels over the market price, making it a total of 2,000 taels of gold to buy your weapon." Hearing this, Gu Qingfeng laughed and scratched his head. "I will not lie to you, Lord He, but this Muwang sword is a family heirloom. No matter how much money you offer, I simply cannot sell it." But in his head, he was deeply annoyed, thinking, 2,000 taels? Who are you calling a beggar? The Muwang sword used to be an earth-grade spiritual weapon. It is priceless. He Fenghua's eyes narrowed, staring at him with cold, murderous intent as he took a step closer. Just then, the female judge who had been sitting next to him earlier suddenly walked over and waved, calling out, "Oh Lord He. Haha, so this is where you were." He Fenghua glanced back at her. The beautiful woman then turned to Gu Qingfeng and said, "I just taught that selfish brat who tried to force a rematch a good lesson. What was his name? Lin something. The Demon Suppression Division strictly forbids attacking colleagues. I cannot believe he did not know that. Come on, the next match is about to start. Let us head back. Seeing this, Fenghua shot Gu Qingfeng a cold look and said, in that case, a true gentleman does not steal what others cherish. Let us leave it at that. With those words, he followed her out. Before leaving, she tilted her head and called out, Bye, Gu Qingfeng. I have high expectations for you. Taken aback, he quickly replied, Ah, thank you. He thought to himself, she is helping me, but even if he tried to rob me, he would have to ask my White Bone demon fire first. The woman gave him a meaningful look and then walked away. Fenghua snapped, Stop staring. Is not the match about to start? He was clearly irritated by her sudden interference. His eyes narrowed slyly as he thought, Gu Qingfeng, I have plenty of ways to make you hand over that spiritual weapon. A single candle flickered in the room, night had fallen, and Gu Qingfeng was now all alone. Lighting 2 rows of candles on the table, he muttered to himself, It seems people in this world care a lot about cultivation realms. I got the system shortly after transmigrating, so I have never actually cultivated. Even if I do not rely on cultivation to boost my strength, just raising my realm would save me a lot of trouble. He opened a book and read, Plus, a higher realm extends your lifespan. With that in mind, he immediately sat down to cultivate, finally focusing the energy in his dantian. Gu Qingfeng sat cross-legged on the floor, his hands resting on his thighs. The next morning, a sudden, panicked scream echoed through the house, sending the birds on the roof flying in a frenzy. What? He realized with a blank stare. I fell asleep. Looking at his completely unchanged self, he sighed in disappointment. Sigh. It is not that I did not try. Cultivation is just way too boring and dry. He called up his system. Hey, why cannot you just upgrade my cultivation for me? Staring closely at the system panel, he asked in confusion, Every single time, you only boost some weird attributes. If it is not defense, it is strength. Are you trying to turn me into a musclehead? But then, the system notified him. Because the host has no cultivation, the system cannot upgrade it. His face fell in frustration. You cannot just talk nonsense like that. I clearly have a cultivation at the 3rd stage of the Qi gathering realm. The system displayed a prompt. The Qi gathering realm merely uses the physical body to store heaven and earth essence. It does not count as actual cultivation. After reading this, he stared blankly, his face dark. Cannot you make an exception? The system did not hesitate to smack him right on the head, replying, No. Rubbing the bump on his head, Gu Qingfeng winced in pain and thought, with my talent, if I rely on actual cultivation, God knows how long it will take to reach the inner Qi realm. But there is absolutely nothing I can do about it. I guess I have to head out now. Whatever, it's time anyway. Let's go join the second match and get ready for another round. The crowd was flocking to the arena again. Gu Qingfeng squeezed his way through the mob and asked in surprise, Why are there so many people today? Suddenly, someone turned around, looked at him, and called out, Gu Qingfeng. Surprised, he asked, Wait, you know me, buddy? The guy grabbed his hand and excitedly shouted to the crowd, Hey everyone, look, Gu Qingfeng is here. Instantly, the crowd whipped around and swarmed him like ants. Everyone crowded around him, bombarding him with questions. Is that wooden sword on his back the legendary Xuan rank spirit weapon? One person asked, Are you really Gu Qingfeng? Another chimed in, saying, I never thought I would get to see a Xuan rank spirit weapon in my entire life. Now I can die happy. Their crowding made him panic a bit, and they just would not leave him alone. Whoa, look at that glossy wooden sword. The design is so sleek. Do you feel that mystical, ancient aura radiating from it? Normal Huang rank demon slayers only use ordinary weapons. Only Xuan rank demon slayers can get a Huang rank spirit weapon. They crowded him so tightly that he could not even break free. This mob was like a pack of ants, even lifting him up and tossing him into the air in excitement. I heard that in the Demon Suppressing Division, only Earth rank demon slayers have Xuan rank spirit weapons. Who exactly is this Gu Qingfeng? Another one immediately argued, What are you talking about? There is only one Xuan rank spirit weapon in the entire Demon Suppressing Division. Right. It is held by the Heaven rank demon slayer, Li Tianren. I have seen him carry it. Does this mean I can dream of seeing a legendary Heaven rank weapon too? Voices clashed as they talked over one another, leaving him with no chance to even answer them. Brother Gu, I am from the Wang family, one of the 4 great families of Wutong County. I want to buy that Wood King sword. Name your price. Brother Gu, do not listen to him. Sell it to me. No matter how much that punk offers, I will pay double. Just then, a loud roar cut through the noise. "Order! Show some order! What a disgrace! Move aside, now!" The shout was so booming that they all backed away in fear to both sides. With everyone clearing the path, no one was holding Qingfeng up anymore, causing him to land flat on his butt with a painful thud. The man walked up to him with his hands behind his back. "Qingfeng, it is almost your turn. Get up to the stage, quick." Sitting on the ground in a daze, he replied, "Right, yes," before taking his sword and walking straight onto the stage. On the stage, a shirtless opponent was already waiting for him. He looked at the wooden sword in his hand, his eyes widening in surprise as he thought, "Is that really the Xuan rank spirit weapon? He actually dares to bring it out so blatantly." Gripping his sword tightly, he began plotting his strategy. "My only chance is to finish him off with one move, before he can use his spirit weapon." With that thought, he charged forward with his sword, shouting, "The match begins!" Hoping to seize the upper hand, he launched a preemptive strike, but he had no idea that Qingfeng's sword would transform into a solid wooden shield, completely blocking his attack. The guy stared in sheer terror, his mouth agape and eyes wide as he thought, "It is a wooden shield. There is no way I can cut through this." He quickly leaped backward, distancing himself from the wooden sword to avoid a counterattack. Holding his sword out in front of him, he dropped to one knee, keeping his eyes glued on Qingfeng. At this point, the wooden sword had completely enveloped his body, leaving absolutely no openings for an attack. The sight absolutely terrified him. "Damn it! How am I supposed to fight this?" Seeing that he had jumped away, the wooden pieces protecting Qingfeng slowly disassembled and flew straight toward him to attack. Right as he swung his sword in a desperate defense, the wooden weapon extended a long branch, wrapped around his sword, and snatched it away. He got into a fierce tug of war with the branch, but in the end, he lost his grip, got disarmed, and tumbled to the ground. Then, the wooden branches began relentlessly chasing him all over the arena. Weaponless, his only option was to turn tail and run. Meanwhile, huge wooden trunks were rapidly sprouting up from beneath the stage. Massive trunks burst through the concrete floor, charging straight at him, sending sharp stone debris flying into his face and leaving him covered in blood. Seeing him beaten so miserably, Qingfeng picked up the opponent's sword and smirked to himself. Yep, absolute trash. Just then, the guy still refused to give up, his eyes gleaming with ambition as he thought, "Now is my chance." The wooden branches tightened with a loud creak, and the shirtless guy leaped away from them. Right in front of him, Qingfeng held out his sword, handing it back as he said, "Brother Li, here is your sword." The guy was instantly stunned, his face twisting in fear as he ground his teeth, but he suddenly lunged forward, throwing a powerful punch at Qingfeng and screaming, "You are pushing me too far." But without Qingfeng even lifting a finger, the wooden weapon stepped in and blasted him back. He was slammed headfirst into the ground by the branch, ending up completely knocked out. The entire audience fell dead silent, staring with wide eyes. After that, several more challengers stepped up, but every single one of them was utterly thrashed by the wooden sword, turning into branches. He did not have to do a thing. The wooden weapon even spared those who were too weak, gently wrapping them up and tossing them out of the ring without bothering to hurt them. The spectators were starting to look bored. No one even bothered to cheer anymore, knowing his victory was already a done deal. Then, an old man stepped onto the stage, pointed a finger directly at him, and shouted, "Qingfeng, if you do not use your spirit weapon, I..." He boasted about suppressing his cultivation to the 3rd level of the Qi gathering realm to fight fair and square, but the old geezer couldn't even brag for more than 3 sentences. The tree swatted him away instantly. Honestly, why shouldn't he use his spirit weapon? If you've got it, flaunt it, and make life easier. Just because he ran his big mouth, the tree blasted him straight into the sky. Qingfeng shielded his eyes, looked up, and mocked him. What did he just say? "The wind is too loud, I can't hear a thing." Oh well, he flew so high. I've lost count of how many times this has happened. The announcement declaring Qingfeng the winner rang out once again. The crowd below was bored to tears. Their faces darkened, with absolutely zero excitement left. They even started complaining. Lord this shameless scoundrel, Qingfeng, is blatantly cheating. He's only winning by relying on a spirit weapon. Then what's even the point of this tournament? Fenghua took a sip of his tea and muttered to his subordinate, "You know what to do, right?" The servant quickly cupped his hands, bowed, and replied, "Yes, sir, your servant understands." That day, Qingfeng was sitting cross-legged on the floor, training. He opened his eyes with a dead serious expression, but looking at his progress, It was completely useless. Frustrated, he sighed. Man, it looks like the original owner's body is just not cut out for cultivation. I've been meditating for 6 hours and haven't made a single bit of progress. Right then, a voice called out from outside. Brother Gu, are you there? He glanced toward the door and shouted, It's unlocked. Come on in. The masked man pushed the door open and walked right in. Seeing him, Gu Qingfeng cupped his hands and asked calmly, May I ask what brings you here, my lord? He started beating around the bush, asking, Brother Gu, do you know that the other trainee demon slayers and martial artists have teamed up to boycott you? Hearing this, Gu Qingfeng was extremely annoyed. He crossed his arms and asked back, Say what? The man shut the door, looking all mysterious. They've already reported you to Lord He. Before Gu Qingfeng could even say a word, he quickly added, But Lord He has agreed to help you out. Gu Qingfeng asked with a hint of suspicion, Really? Did Lord He actually say that? He eyed the guy, thinking to himself, Ha, so this is the trap. Who knows if Manhwa is playing dirty on purpose? The masked man then turned around and continued as he walked. If you agree to sell the Wood King's sword to Lord He will be more than happy to solve this little crisis for you. The guy smugly stood by the tea table, thinking, Just as I thought, a total clueless bumpkin. Lord, he only had to spice up the story a little bit, and he's already taking the bait. He looked around, suspiciously guilty conscience, kicking in, no doubt, and said, Lord, he will allow you to use the Wood King's sword, and once you secure the position of yellow-class demon slayer, you can hand the Wood King's sword over to him. It was clear as day they had mapped out this whole scheme. Gu Qingfeng hadn't even said a word, yet the guy was already acting as if he'd won. Celebrating way too early, he kept rambling on. Not only will you make a fortune, but you'll also get the yellow-class demon slayer title and lord. He's personal favor, but he never expected Gu Qingfeng to slam a hand heavy on his shoulder, coldly asking, And what if I refuse to sell? Goosebumps broke out all over the guy as he quickly shrugged and shook his head. Then during the match, you'll be banned from using the Wood King sword, and you'll be knocked out in the semifinals. You can say goodbye to becoming a yellow-class demon slayer. Plus, you'll end up making lord. He furious. With that, he turned, grabbed Gu Qingfeng by the shoulders, and shoved his face close to threaten him. Weigh your options carefully, Brother Gu. Without a shred of hesitation, Gu Qingfeng slapped the man's hands away, turned around with pure contempt, and walked off. Reaching the door, he cupped his hands, turned back, bowed slightly, and said, Do me a favor and tell Lord He, the Wood King sword is a family heirloom. It's not for sale. He made his stance crystal clear. Then, Gu Qingfeng happily waved goodbye to the guy, whose head was practically smoking with rage. Now run along, and watch your step on the way out. Powerless against him, the guy could only storm off, cursing, What a shameless idiot. After sending him off, Gu Qingfeng slammed the door shut. In the blink of an eye, it was time for his next match. Gu Qingfeng at the 3rd level of the Qi Gathering Realm versus Hu Banqing at the 9th level of the Qi Gathering Realm. The spectators in the stands began to whisper and gossip. What a pity for Hu Banqing. He was actually the favorite to win first place. Watching him walk up with his sword, they kept saying, for someone at just the 3rd level of the Qi Gathering Realm to be able to slay an iron-armored zombie, his power is already close to the Qi Condensation Realm. You could basically call him a half-step Qi Condensation Realm master. But bad luck for him to go against Gu Qingfeng, of all people. The referee's voice boomed, Let the match begin. But right at that moment, a voice interrupted, Hold on. Lord He, esteemed judges, your subordinate has something to say. Granted permission, Hu Banqing cupped his hands. Thank you, my lord. Standing before the judges, he announced, Gu Qingfeng is relying entirely on a spirit weapon, boldly exploiting loopholes in the rules to cheat in broad daylight. It's utterly detestable. This tournament is meant to choose the strongest among us. If a cheater wins, how can anyone accept them as a yellow-class demon slayer? The more he talked, the more heated he got, even pointing his finger right at Gu Qingfeng to argue, but this guy has absolutely zero skill without that spirit weapon. He is utterly shameless and doesn't deserve anyone's respect. Therefore, I beg the judges to ban Gu Qingfeng from using his spirit weapon to ensure a fair fight. Manhwa glanced over at Gu Qingfeng, his face darkening as he asked, Gu Qingfeng, do you have anything to say for yourself? It seemed he was still hoping Gu Qingfeng would change his mind and hand over the sword. But to his surprise, Gu Qingfeng simply replied with complete ease, I only used a spirit weapon because I was afraid of hurting your pride. Did you seriously think that was the only way I could win? His eyes gleamed with smugness, showing no fear or respect as he asked, and what if I don't use a spirit weapon? The crowd of spectators burst out laughing in mockery. Am I hearing this right? Is this kid actually saying he can win without a spirit weapon? Did he win against those guys at the 9th stage of the Qi gathering realm using a spirit weapon, and now he actually thinks he can win on pure strength? Ha! Without a spirit weapon, who do you think you are? What a shameless boast. Meanwhile, another guy broke a sweat, rubbing his chin and whispering, "Wait, why do I feel like he isn't joking?" Hearing their words, Qingfeng was naturally quite ticked off. He snapped back, "I was going to deal with you all as an ordinary guy, but you just had to mock and ridicule me." Frowning, he looked at them and put away his wooden sword. "Fine, I am done pretending. It is time to show my hand. Actually, I have been invincible in the Qi gathering realm for a long time." Hearing this, Fenghua froze and asked, "Qingfeng, do you mean you agree to not use a spirit weapon?" He replied flatly, "I can win even without it." Seeing how confident he was, Fenghua felt a bit uneasy, thinking, does he have another trump card? Meanwhile, the guys in the stands started shouting up a storm. "Brother Hu, take him down, beat this arrogant trash to death. Yeah, beat him, hit him hard." Hearing the crowd's cheers, Hu Banqing's eyes lit up. After all, he had already achieved his goal. He told Qingfeng, "Then prove it with your real strength." The duel began. "Qingfeng, it looks like your arrogance has pissed everyone off." Qingfeng met his gaze with a cold, defiant look. "Arrogance? I am just stating a fact." Hearing this made the other guy boil with rage. "You," he growled, thinking, "stating a fact? Isn't that the same as calling me trash, too?" With that thought, he slammed his sword hard into the ground. He shouted for everyone to hear, "Today, I want to see if your mouth is tougher than my fists." Qingfeng did not flinch. Instead, he gave him a provocative look. "Oh? I heard your specialty is saber play. Why are you using fists now?" With a sharp glare, Hu Banqing clenched his fists and rushed forward. "Dealing with you, I am afraid of getting my saber dirty. Take this." He put all his strength into swinging a punch. "Today, I'll make sure you die knowing exactly why." A direct punch straight at Qingfeng's head. A mix of red and blue energy enveloped Qingfeng's head, but Hu Banqing's eyes widened in utter shock. He felt the bones in his hand shattering, clutching his hand in agonizing pain, throwing his head back and screaming in agony. "Ah!" The once arrogant Hu Banqing was now in a miserable state, rolling on the ground and shrieking, "My hand! My hand!" Meanwhile, Qingfeng was completely unscathed, without a single scratch on him. Earlier, he hadn't even bothered to dodge the opponent's punch. Witnessing this, Fenghua was stunned, thinking to himself, to think he has achieved grand completion of the iron shirt technique. How is that even possible? That beautiful girl, however, looked incredibly excited. Does a true cultivation genius really exist in this world?